Welcome back to another edition of the Rodcast. We like to call it the Freak Flag Feel Good, Fake It Till You Make It. Ric Flair, woo! 512 Friday edition of the Rodcast. We are glad that you are here with us. We got a jam-packed show. Of course, we'll talk about a Game 7 in the NBA playoffs. The T-Wolves win Game 6, force a Game 7. We'll break that down. Also, tonight's action, you got the Indiana Pacers and the Knicks in a Game 6. The Pacers are hoping they can force a Game 7. Knicks are hoping they can get back to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time since 2000. Been a long time since the Knicks been this good. We'll talk about that coming up here in this segment. Also, it is official. Quinn Ewers is a cover boy. Cover boy. It's official. He will be on the cover of the new EA Sports college football video game. So we'll hear from Quinn Ewers. He's actually being asked about his ratings on the game, the ratings for Texas. So we'll talk about that too coming up a little bit later on. Also, an SEC analyst believes that Texas right now could be embarking on something very special. He makes a comparison to Texas that I don't think anybody would dare make unless you got a chance to see Texas up close and personal, which he did. So we'll get into that a little bit too when we talk some Texas football. There are also there's an interesting new metric that one of my favorite statisticians, data scientists, is using to determine the strength of schedule at the college level. And it's interesting what he has to say about Texas' first year in the SEC, or at least what that metric has to say about Texas' first year in the SEC. We'll dive into that. Also, there's a top 100 rankings. On3 is a top 100 rankings of the best players in college football. So we'll talk about where the Longhorns are there. Yeah, of course, it's always football season right here on the Rodcast. Also, we'll get into, I don't know if people are paying attention to what's happening in the ACC. The ACC is dissolving before our very eyes. The ACC, it's inevitable, guys. It's basically, it is going to, at one point, either it's going to dissolve kind of like the Pac-12, or it's going to be a very diminished version of itself. And it is happening right now. Nobody's really talking about it. We'll talk about it. We'll get into that coming up next segment. I think it's a huge story. And if those schools do decide to leave the ACC, where are they going? There's only two options. You're going to the Big Ten or you're going to the SEC. We'll get into that too coming up a little bit later on. Jimbo Fisher had some controversial comments about the separation of the have and the have-nots. We'll dive into that. Could walk-ons be going away? Could the walk-on be something of the past when we start looking at the future of college football? That's something else we'll dive into. So we're jam-packed, folks. We got a lot to get into. Let's not waste any time. Without further ado, let's introduce you to the rest of the crew, because he is the real MVP, one of the hardest working members of the ARN family. He's got a hustler spirit, period. I'm not sure what he's paid. I'm just pretty damn sure he's underpaid. Ain't no 401k for this hustler. He's a hustle man of many talents. We call him the Idealionaire, the real MVP. He wears many hats and has many names, but I'm glad to call him my friend, co-host, and neighbor is Patrick Davis, y'all. What's going on, Patrick?
Doing good. It's Friday morning. That always feels good. I told you yesterday, on Thursday, or on Wednesday, all day I thought it was Thursday. And then yesterday, I thought it was Wednesday all day. I don't know why those two switched in my brain, but all day yesterday, then I'd be like, oh no, it's Thursday. So I got the good feeling that everything had moved the other direction.
Yeah.
And then this morning, I've already set my alarm for tomorrow because we'll be out at Texan Windows tomorrow. All the information.
Isn't that crazy? I did the same thing this morning, Patrick. I
was like, you know what?
I wouldn't forget.
Let me just do it now. Just put full of alarm on my phone so I don't forget about it. Let me put it in there so we can be out with you people tomorw at Texan Windows. All the information at hornfm.com if you want to find that out. Where you can join us tomorrow.
Great minds think alike.
And if you want to listen,
I was prepping. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it now because I could easily just sleep in, forget about it. Nope.
No, the problem is not even sleeping in. The problem is waking up and being like, oh, it's gonna be a nice day, and then like going to the bathroom and walking out and then just be like, oh God.
Yeah. Okay. I got something. Oh no, that's what I'm saying. I don't want to get too relaxed and start hanging out, watching some TV show. And they're like 9:45. I'm like, oh, I gotta be in it. So that's why I did. I set the alarm and I put it on my calendar. So I will be out there texting Windows as well. Patrick and myself. Yeah, you go. That's being responsible. It's called adulting. That's what it's called.
Yes. And if you didn't get enough broadcast during the week, we'll be doing 2 more hours out there. You'll hear us here on the Horn as well from 10 to noon tomorrow. You can check that out. But I'll be out there with my co-host, who I can tell you is a proud alumni of DBU. He's got more papers than Dunder Mifflin. He watches more film than Siskel and Ebert, and he is the new Rod father of Austin Sports Radio, Mr. Rod Babers.
I appreciate the intro as always. Yeah, man. We randomly on a Friday, we just got a lot of stuff to get into. We also can dive deeper back into the schedule release of the NFL if you guys want to do that. But also, we go behind the burnt orange curtain. We got a couple of things, so we may either behind the burnt orange curtain or Rod's rant. I haven't figured out which one. I'm gonna dive into red zone. I've been rabbit holing about Texas red zone issues. This is probably gonna be a 2-3 part series. So much information I have, but we'll talk about Texas red zone problems last season. And I found it a weird trend about Texas in the red zone. Very strange. I talked to Coach Bob Shipley about this, and it's not troubling. It's just strange. It's just strange. Period. So we'll do that when we talk either Raj Rant or go behind the burner screen. We got so much Texas football related stuff that we might just throw it into Raj Rant instead of going behind the burnt orange curtain. All right, my man Patrick always hooks us up.
I will ask you before we get to that, because I don't have it in my horn headlines, but did you see that the breaking news that's already happened this morning?
What?
The breaking news. Wait, let me hit my sounder for it.
Man, hold up, my timeline. What? Come on.
Scotty Scheffler.
Oh, I saw that. It literally just hit my timeline.
Scotty Scheffler is being detained for trying to pass a police barricade to get to the tournament this morning.
Yeah, I saw that.
And so
I'm looking at it right now.
He's in the back of a cop car, handcuffed.
I just had a kid. Come on.
He's also the #1 golfer in the world.
Yeah. I don't understand what's happening here. Yeah, I don't get that. That's weird. That's strange. I don't know the details of it. You would have thought that they could have been de-escalated with a warning of some kind. I don't know what it escalated to. It had to escalate to something. I mean, it could have just been he crossed the barricade and then they just put the man in handcuffs. I'm assuming there was some type of altercation of some sort, right? You know,
he said.
I mean, listen. Okay, if it was me. All right. If it was a brother that walked through the barricade like that, yes, I could see me just being put in handcuffs. Well, I can't see the #1 golfer in the world.
He drove around it. So he was in the car. He's in the car. He drives around it trying to get into this place. Apparently, there's a wreck, so the whole thing's probably going to get pushed back. The whole tournament.
He probably thought, okay, I got special privileges because I'm trying to get. I'm a player in the tournament.
I got to get there
in this tournament. I got to get there.
And so he's trying to go around it. The cop then freaks out, pulls around, and I don't want to say freaks out if he wasn't doing his job, because he was trying to stop a guy driving through a barricade. And so he goes around, pulls up behind. Scheffler stops. He gets out of the car, gets him out of the car, throws him up against the car, handcuffs him, and puts him in the back of the cop car. So
did Scotty Scheffler drop the "Do you know who I am" line?
I don't know.
Was there any point to "Do you know who I am" line, or anybody else who's a cop there who goes, "Hey, dude, that's Scotty Scheffler. He's the #1 golfer in the world. Hey, let's have a little conversation about what happened here." You know what I mean? About what happened here. Yes, he did violate the law, but let's try to put this thing into context. But yeah, I mean, that's strange. I don't, like I said, you would have thought he could have been de-escalated. I said, at what happened at one point when he was confronted about, officers like, "Hey, roll the window down," whatever. Why did you cross the barricade? Whatever. There had to be a time where he could have explained himself. That he was a player in the tournament and that he had to be there. I would have thought. I'm assuming he was running late.
I'm guessing but I'm guessing multiple players are, right?
That's what I'm saying. Because of the wreck, he was running late, and then the panic. Hey, I got to be there. I got to I got to be there. I got obligations. So apparently, at that point, he decided, all right, you know what? I'm taking this matters into my own hands. I'm going.
I'm sure he said, "What's the worst that could happen?"
Well, and I'm
doubting that was in the equation. They'll tow my car. I'll walk in and we'll get it sorted out. And that's the worst that'll happen. It's like, nope.
See, you probably should have walked through it, because how close was it to the entrance to the tournament? That's what I got to find out, because you probably should have had the party. And if you would have walked through there, you'd have a chance to talk to the officer, as opposed to I'll admit, driving through a barricade makes you look aggressive.
Yes.
Right? You driving through a barricade, like, "Whoa, bro, hey, what you doing?" You see cops in a barricade and lights, and you drive through it, and you're not a police car. You look aggressive. It's like, hold up, man. What you doing up in here? So, I mean, that's aggressive. That's aggressive. To drive through a police barricade is literally, by definition, you are being an aggressor. All right? That's an aggressive move.
Yeah.
I don't give a damn if it's a I don't know. I'm going what kind of car he was driving. It's more aggressive. It's a big truck, but you know what I mean. Even if it's a Dodge Neon, whatever it is, you know, it's still an aggressive move. And I think that right there will probably have all the officers taken aback, like, whoa, what's going on? So they're already escalated. They're like, hold up, man, what's going on here? And then I wonder what happened after. Did he get a chance to explain himself? I mean, did he just rip him out of the car? Did he, roll down the window? Hey, I'm Scotty Scheffler. Does he have a PGA Tour member card that he can show that, hey, I'm Scotty Scheffler? I'm a tour.
Do you think he got out and was like, do you guys want an autograph? No, God.
I don't. I was gonna say, like, I got to know the exchange here. And then the officer's obviously not a golf fan. Or knows because he'd at least know, like, hey, that's Scotty Scheffler.
I don't know, though, but like, I don't know if I was working in Scotty Scheffler, I'd still be like, that guy kind of looks like Scotty Scheffler. But I don't think, like, he's not an identifiable enough guy.
No, I'm with you. He's not LeBron or anything. He's not Tiger. I get it. Yeah,
it's not a guy that you say, oh, okay, this guy looks like, oh, clearly he's Scotty Scheffler, because there's like 10 guys who kind of look like Scotty Scheffler on the tour.
Yeah. No, he said he was delayed by like an hour.
Yeah,
that's a long time to be. If you let's say you're trying to get somewhere, you give yourself an allotted amount of time. Just to be responsible to get there early, whatever. You probably give yourself. I want to be there about 10, 15 minutes early, so I'll give myself plenty of time. And then you're delayed an hour after that, and I'm assuming that the basically the administrators of the people that run the tournament, that manage the tournament, they were aware of the delay and the bus crash, right? It was a fatal bus crash. I think that was holding everything up. And like you said, there had to be other golfers also delayed. Hell, people who will probably help running the tournament also delayed too. And I wonder if it could have just been as simple as, hey, can we communicate this to the people who run the tournament and the PGA the PGA Championship, and then, hey, we got to delay everything because the number one golfer in the world can't tee off because he's delayed.
Yeah,
and others are delayed too.
Yeah, apparently CB just sent us that they said he's going to jail. So
that's what I'm saying. That must have been an escalation. That was but that was an escalation when he drove. He was the aggressor.
Yeah,
he was the aggressor driving through the barricade. But then at one point, there still had to be an escalation after that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Is that an offense you go to jail immediately for when you cross the barricade? I've never done it, so I don't know.
This is the who's more upset right now? Who's more upset, the PGA or Las Vegas?
The PGA shouldn't be upset because this ain't good for the PGA. But we're talking about everybody around the country is going to talk golf all day long now, and now it's one of those stories that'll go from the sports page to the front page. Like, this is going to make the late night talk shows will be having jokes about this. Right, so this is, you know what I mean? Like, this is going to be mentioned on all of your. This will make its way onto Bravo somehow.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's just one of those types of stories. Like, hold on, what happened? This is a weird story. So honestly, for golf overall, it's actually a pretty good story because we're gonna talk golf all damn day, and we ain't gonna talk about who's leading the We're gonna talk about this story, and then we're gonna talk about who's leading the PGA championship then. Without Scotty Scheffler. So for golf overall, it's good. For Scotty Scheffler, yeah, it sucks. I mean, he just became a dad. Like 2 weeks ago or something like that. And he's the number one golfer in the world, and he's been on the hottest streak for any golfer since Tiger Woods. And it's like prime. I mean, he's just been rolling. He's gonna come
back. He's gonna come back with face tats now.
I mean, he's such a kind of meek, humble guy, man of the Lord. Like, he's very driven by his faith. And it's just one of those stories. You're like, what happened? And there's got to be video of this. There's got to be a cop, with the body cam or the dash cam or something. So there's some footage of it that TMZ is already on it. Don't worry, guys. TMZ will have it before tomorrow morning. They'll have this footage. They pay top dollar. So they will have the Scotty Scheffler footage somewhere of what happened. Because like I said, I think he obviously was aggressive, put the cops on alarm, and they were taken aback when he drove through the barricade. Like, who is this guy? And then I said, I guarantee there was another escalation of some sort. And it could just been Scotty. He maybe he and the officer there exchanged. Maybe he was in the officer's definition. Maybe he was aggressive. Jeff Darlington said the police officer acted very quickly, very rapidly, very aggressively. And he said that on ESPN, that the officer in question acted like. So maybe the officer didn't give him a chance. Maybe the officer maybe the officer's the one that escalated it. And so somebody escalated it after the barricade trespassing violation.
Yeah. I feel like this may be an issue that everybody's in the wrong. And one of those things where it's like everybody. I get the tensions are high. If you're out there and you've been working all night and you haven't slept and you're on hour 14 of a shift and you're trying to do this and everyone's yelling at you and everybody hates you because you're blocking off, but you're trying to deal with some that's a tragic accident somewhere else and you're dealing with all that stuff and then someone pulls through and that's the straw and you're like, cool, he's going to jail. Like we're setting the example. It's done now. He's going to jail. And it's just, you don't want to pick the person that is going to put you on the news as the police officer.
Man. Only way they could stop Scotty Scheffler was to arrest him. Only way they could slow down Scotty was to arrest him. That is you're right though. It's definitely one of those situations where I'm with you. I think everybody's probably got a little responsibility in it, both sides here. But yeah, you definitely don't cross a police barricade at any time. And if you're gonna do it, you might want to talk to an officer of the law first before you do that. Because I mean, they're worried about their own safety and well-being as well.
Yeah.
You get a car just driving through the barricade, and it's like, whoa, hold up, man. And I could definitely see why the officers would have been on high alert. And I'm sure things could have de-escalated. Like I said, I wonder, there's somebody, one of those officers knew it was Scotty Scheffler at one point. One of them officers is a golf fan was like, hey, dude, you realize that's Scotty Scheffler.
When Jeff
I'm not saying the officer that arrested him did, but somebody.
I think when Jeff Darlington walked out and said that's Scotty Scheffler, the number one golfer in the world, they might have known then.
That's like, come on, man. And I wonder if then it can be like, all right, let's put him in the car and let's have a conversation.
Yeah, let's go in there. I mean?
And I don't know if that happens, officers. You gotta let us know on the text line. Can you get put in the car and have a conversation? Once you're in cuffs, can they take you out of the cuffs? Do they have that? You know what I mean? Do they have that?
I'm not going to tell any stories, but from experience, yes.
Were you in cuffs in the back of the car?
It was not me.
It
was not me. That's why I can't tell these stories. It was not me.
Okay.
It was not me.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know protocol. Like, it's something like, all right, once they're in cuffs in the back of the car, hey, that's the point of no return. You can't take it back. Takesies, backsies after that.
Let me just say, I've hung out with bands for 20 years. So
yeah. So you're saying they can't take the handcuffs off. They can't take you out of the back of the car after some, reasoning and rational conversation. Like, all right, you know what? We got this thing. We got some context on it. Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's take them out. So, okay. I wonder why didn't that happen then? Or is Scotty in the back just going off at that point? He's just like, you MF and is he just at that point? He's at the point where he's inconsolable and he's going off and so upset because it escalated. You know what I mean? Like, why even when he got put in cuffs and in the back of the car, couldn't there be a conversation about, okay, now what was going on here, man? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Sorry, officer. This
is a huge misunderstanding. This is what this is. And okay, let's knock this back from a felony to a misdemeanor and we can get you out. And, we're not going to say that you ran through a barricade and ran from the police and there's a charge because we know none of those are going to stick. No one's going to prosecute
his lawyer's about to. I don't know who was Scotty Scheffler's lawyer, but this lawyer, he might work at overtime, and he's good too. I don't even know who he is, but he's good. Matter of fact, there are a lot of lawyers right now hitting up Scotty's people, like, "Hey man, I want this case. I'll take it pro bono, just so you know. I'll take it pro bono. I just want to be in the loop here. I don't need my name mentioned when we get these charges dismissed." But you're right. It could. I mean, I don't know if it could have just been something they wrote him a ticket for. I mean, like, "Hey, you got to show up at court for this," because it is that serious. We don't know the details, but
now it'll be hilarious if he comes straight from jail to the golf course and wins the tournament.
That would be all. That'd be gangster. That would be gangster if he did that. I don't even know if he can though, because he's gonna miss a whole round.
No, but I mean, you can get out of jail pretty quick, depending on. I
guarantee how good your lawyer is.
You don't think PGA's got a judge on the phone right now and be like, get him out?
They probably do.
They
probably do.
Get him out on bail.
I'm sure they do.
Push you to the front line. We don't care. We don't care about laws. We don't care about anything else.
The PGA used to move around the tee time, whatever. I don't know.
And I'll say this. You think Vegas is calling him right now?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, that's who's moving stuff around. It ain't just PGA. It's Vegas. Like,
you know how much money is on this right now? We do not want to shift these lines.
Yeah, he's got more money on him than any other golfer. We're gonna need to get that.
We got to avoid all these bets.
Man, that would be gangster though. That's never happened in golf. Somebody's got. I'm sure it's probably happened, but never publicly. Well, golfer got right out. Hell, Tiger might have did. Got right out of jail, just right on the golf course and started balling. But hey, Scheffler would be the first, and that would, like I said, that would be a great. That'd be an awesome story.
I'm pretty sure.
Even if he just played in it right after jail, it would still be awesome.
I'm pretty sure OJ did it, but I mean that was a lot longer than a day,
Well, he didn't play the ball after that. OJ, he was retired after.
OJ was on the golf course after he got out of prison.
Yes. That is true. OJ played a lot of golf once he got out of prison.
Out of prison,
I want to say, did he like live on a golf course in Vegas?
He was out there and then just tweeting.
I want to say he lived on a golf course in
just
Vegas,
tweeting weird things and living on a golf course.
Wow. No, it's yeah, man. It's like I said, that's a very strange story. I mean, like I said, I thought we were gonna have a day packed with a lot of actual sports conversation. Hell, man, that's the gift that keeps on giving. You can talk about that for 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, he's in right.
Because we got to see, will he be out before the end of the show?
I'm with you. I just, like I said, it depends on, it really depends on the whatever jurisdiction that they are in and how the process operates.
The good news is it's a Friday, not a Saturday.
It's a weekday. Yeah,
it's a weekday.
Everybody who's dealt with jail knows it's good. It's a week. Go to jail on a weekday. Don't go to jail on a weekend because you're gonna be in there all weekend. Just like, oh, Judge, oh no, he ain't gonna be in till Monday about noon.
Oh.
What about noon?
No, he's taking a long week. He's Memorial Day. He's taking the whole week off.
As a matter of fact, he just called in and said he's gonna be until Wednesday. So it looks like, well, are there any other judges who can come in here and preside over these hearings? Any other judge? Is it the only judge there? Oh, there you go. All right, there you go. So Scotty will be fine. Trust me, Scotty will be good. It'll be great stories for Scotty to tell. I'm sure Scotty's never been to jail, so it'll be a fun story. But I'm with Patrick.
That baby
now bets. There are probably bets being placed right now, Patrick, on how quickly he does get out. You know, Vegas are like, let's make some money off this. Let's put that line out there right now. Over under 3 hours. Scotty Scheffler over under 3.5.
And I'll tell you this: the Saudis are going to call him right after and be like, "I'll just let you know that ain't happening to us." Just FYI, not how things
no
go
overzealous
down.
Authorities here.
No, that ain't how this works.
Oh man, he just had a kid too. It's great.
Just had a kid. That kid is going to grow up and every time driving be like, just let you know if there's a barricade, do not drive through it.
Yeah. Hey, Dad, don't drive through that barricade. Oh, that is great. I wanted those minutes leading up to him actually making the decision. Like, you know what? I'm going with it. Oh. No, what was the thought process? Him saying, you know what? Like you said, worst that could happen. Did he think it all the way through? Or did he just say, you know what? It's not a big deal. They'll pull me to the side and I'll say, hey, I'm Scott. Once I roll down this window, they'll go, oh, you're Scotty Scheffler. Go head on, go through, man. You're good. And it was the exact opposite. Like, apparently the dude did not know who Scotty Scheffler was and then decided, nah, man, I'm taking this dude.
Everything in that apparently did not go well.
It did not go as Scotty thought. That's all right. Hey, it happens to all of us. We all have a plan at point. It's like, nope, that plan, it did not go as planned. All right, there you go. So let's get to the Horn headlines here. I think that was it. Pretty much the biggest story, the Horn headlines. But let's get to the Horn headlines, get updated, educated, and informed with all the big stories of the day with my man, Patrick Davis.
All right, your Horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. Texas baseball needed some ninth inning heroics to pull off their 5-4 win over Kansas. The Longhorns gave up a go-ahead run in the top of the ninth, but were able to get the runs back in the bottom with the Jalen Flores walk-off double. Texas continues their series with Kansas tonight. And Texas softball begins their quest for a national title as the 1 seed in the Women's College World Series this afternoon against Siena. Other teams in the Austin Regional include Northwestern and St. Francis. In the NBA, Timberwolves forced a Game 7 with a resounding 115-70 win over the Nuggets. Anthony Edwards had 27 points, and Jaden McDaniels added 21 more, but the real story was the lockdown defense the T-Wolves had shown in Game 1 and 2 was back. Game 7 will be played on Sunday. Tonight, the Knicks and Pacers head back to Indy for Game 6 in a series where the home team has won every game. And in Major League Baseball, the Astros get the sweep over the A's after an 8-1 victory yesterday, getting them their 7th win in 8 days. They try to right the ship as they head into a weekend series with the Brewers. And the Rangers will face the Angels at Globe Life Field this weekend with Andrew Haney getting the start and looking for his first win of the season. That is your Horn headlines.
All right, thank you for the Horn headlines. All right, shout out to my man CB who's sending us some of these updates on this Scotty Scheffler story at ChrisGB002000. He's definitely worth a follow. So Michelle Steele has some details on it, and Michelle Steele, ESPN reporter. And she said in one of her tweets, Scheffler, this is according to, I believe, according to Jeff Darlington, Scheffler did not stop the vehicle for 10 to 20 yards after police told him to stop. He stopped and things escalated from there. Police put handcuffs on Scheffler in the back of the car, then took the handcuffs off to adjust his wrists and then return handcuffs. And you know what he was saying? Hey, I'm a pro golfer. You can really mess up my wrist.
Yeah.
But hey, man, no, you really need to change it. You got to, obviously put me in handcuffs, and you need to adjust them so you don't actually hurt my wrist. So I think by then they knew who he was, but they probably didn't give a damn if some of these reports are accurate. That he didn't stop for what they say 10 to 20 yards. Peter Burns put this out there on about 10 minutes ago. It says, en route to course, an officer told our vehicle, quote, there was a fatality involving a bus, and then someone tried to run over one of our cops. When I followed up if person in question was taken off premise, he responded, that person is going to jail. Traffic into course not moving.
Whew.
Just some background, some context on this from Andy North. This also comes from Michelle Steele. So there's often run-ins with security trying to get in and out of events, but nothing like this has ever happened at a major involving a player. It's a surreal scene out here. So police officer told Jeff Darlington that Scotty Scheffler was in handcuffs and placed in the back of the police car. There's nothing you can do. He's going to jail. So I believe if some of these reports are accurate, if they're saying, hey, we told him to stop, kept going for 10 to 20 yards, and even they believe that one of their officers was somehow in the path of that car and in danger, that's, I said, like I said, he was the aggressor there. If in fact that is true, and then that's probably, the officers probably didn't even listen to what he had to say after that.
Yeah,
if that was scared, they probably just tried to rip him out of the car, and then I don't know if they're guns drawn or what, but that's a serious situation. I mean, yeah. So we got to have more detail. I'm sure there'll be a Scotty Scheffler side to this about what what happened, and I'm sure it'll be a very different report about some of these things that we're hearing. But yeah, I mean, Scotty Scheffler's going to jail. How long will he spend in jail is the question. You're right. I don't know if it'll be 3 hours, 4 hours. And I'm sure PGA, they're going to move the tee time to try to give him as much time as possible to make the round if he can. But would he even want to? I mean, he may decide. He's a very humble guy. He may decide, I want no part of this circus sideshow. I don't know exactly what it is, and he may decide, nah, I don't. I'm good. I'm good. I've been through enough trauma. Because if he does come back, it is going to be an event.
Oh, yeah.
No, and he's got to speak to the media. Media availability, that kind of stuff. I wonder if he'll speak to the media. Probably will decide not to, but his lawyers will probably tell him not to. I'm sure at this point, like, don't say anything about it.
Man, can you imagine paired with him after that?
That's what,
you just gotta sit there the whole time, like, shut up.
Or maybe he'll come on and be joking about it. I mean,
and then just him, and you just hear the caddy and the other golfer just snickering, just laughing behind you, just like, oh,
making all these prison jokes and jail jokes. Yeah, man, this shit, that is a very strange, surreal story to start off with. All right, we didn't even get to the NBA. I wanted to get to the NBA, but obviously that story is the top story in sports right now.
Hey,
so we will.
For the record, that NBA game was god awful last night. So
it was horrible. Yeah, it was.
It was a 45-point win. So we can go over it real quick. The Nuggets didn't show up. The Timberwolves did. There we go.
Pretty much.
We have covered it. We'll get more into it later. But that was not a.
That's the gist of it. No, you're right about that's the gist of it. 115 to 70. There wasn't really much to cover because Minnesota, but forcing the game 7
is big.
We'll talk about that.
Yes,
what that means. Yes, because that's gonna be fun. And we'll also get into Knicks and Pacers. They got a game 6 coming up tonight. Knicks hoping to avoid a game 7. Pacers trying to push it to 1. All right, we'll have behind the burnt orange curtain. We come up next segment. We'll get into this comparison. An SEC analyst comparing Texas to one of the recent dominant programs in college football. We'll talk about that. Also, Quinn Ewers, he's officially a cover boy on the cover of the EA Sports College Football video game for 2025. We'll hear from Quinn Ewers talking about what his rating may be, how good Texas may be on the game as well. So we'll talk about those Texas football related headlines, and of course, more updates from this Scotty Scheffler story that is just strange. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis here. Let me tell you about Dr. U and his wonderful team. Last time I went to Dr. Ecker's office, as a matter of fact, I went there to get some fillings, to get my fillings replaced, and it was great. Matter of fact, true story. Fell asleep in the chair. That's how comfortable I was. Yeah, drill in the mouth, all that. Fell asleep in the chair. I was told by the dentist there that I had to be. I was woken up, that I was snoring a little bit too. That's how comfortable I got at Dr. U's office. Now, it may not be that comfortable for you, depending on what you're doing, but that's what they specialize in, folks. Making sure you're comfortable, making sure they ease all of your stress and anxiety. So it doesn't matter what procedure you need. Maybe you need to get some fillings like I did, or maybe it's a routine cleaning or a checkup, or maybe you have to have all your wisdom teeth removed, like I also had to do. And that was something that was caught and diagnosed by my friends over at Dr. Eckert's office, and they did a great job. I went in there just for a routine checkup and cleaning, and they found that my wisdom teeth were growing in sideways. They wanted to act quickly. They didn't want to become a disastrous situation. So they educated me about the entire process, got me scheduled, made sure that I was comfortable with the entire process, and I had the procedure done, guys. I was back at work within a couple of days. That's how easy it was. And now my dental health and dental hygiene have never been better, thanks to Dr. U, thanks to Dr. Eckert and his great team. They can do the same for you as well. Doesn't matter if it's general dentistry, teeth whitening, dentures, porcelain crowns, veneers, dental implants, full mouth reconstruction, even root canal therapy, whatever it takes to ensure you're getting the best quality dental care available. That's what Dr. Greg Eckert and his team are all about. Now, they're always on the cutting edge of the technological advances in dentistry, just to make sure that you're getting the best quality care available. And because of that, he can give you a brand new smile in just one day, permanently secured to your dental implants. No time spent without teeth. You'll get temporary fixtures until they can complete your permanent smile. You're going to smile again with confidence and eat freely without pain or discomfort. So we're talking about a lifelike permanent solution. So if you've been told your teeth need to be replaced, don't freak out. Just call Dr. Eckert today to learn about this revolutionary alternative to dentures. It's a brand new smile in just one day. Even if you have dentures now, it's okay. You can also reach out to Dr. U about this revolutionary alternative to dentures. It sounds too good to be true. It's not. It's just Dr. U. It's a complimentary consultation, so you got nothing to lose but so much to gain, because a beautiful smile, a confident smile, can truly change your life, and Dr. U wants to change your life for the better. So don't wait. Give him a call, 512-345-3166. That's 512-345-3166, or visit drueckert.com, drueckert.com. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get into a little Texas football conversation. Going behind the burnt orange curtain here. So, two things. We'll get into Quinn Ewers here in just a second, but Peter Burns, who actually did a lot of the spring game pre-game analysis on LHN. If you didn't know Peter Burns, but he works for the SEC Network and does great work for the SEC Network, and he gets a lot of behind the scenes a lot of behind the scenes insider material, and he also gets a lot of behind the scenes um, looks at a lot of the SEC teams. So he gets a chance to go to practices, gets a chance to talk to all the coaches, and he said something on the, I believe it's on the Beat podcast that really surprised me. And he's a guy that does great work, and he saw Texas this past spring because of the spring game. Got a chance to watch him practice, got a chance to see this roster up close and personal. But he's also seen a lot of SEC teams over the years. Here's what he had to say about comparing Texas to Georgia.
Is Georgia still the de facto pick 1 and 2? Your thoughts on Carson Beck and the Heisman Trophy?
Yeah, I mean, you look at where Carson is at right now. I think he's probably right at the odds-on favorite or pretty close to it, along with Quinn Ewers. And I think that's the 1-2 matchup that we're going to see. And it's odd that we're not going into a season talking about Alabama, but I think there's so much uncertainty around that program. And is it, what Kalen DeBoer is going to bring in year one? How much did they lose? And especially in the wide receiver with Nye Black and Isaiah Bond both going to Texas, which we'll see in the conference, which is going to be crazy. But how much did Jalen Milroe grow? And those are the question marks I have for Alabama, which means to me that the top two teams to beat right now are going to be Georgia and they're going to be Texas. Mike, I was just down in Austin. I handled their spring football game, and it looks every bit like the way Georgia looked in 2021, in 2022, and 2023. I mean, they get off the bus. They're monstrous people. They're deep in every position. And now they got a quarterback in Quinn Ewers coming back, and they got a pretty damn good backup in Arch as well that wowed in the spring game. So, to me, that's where I look at it. I think the pecking order is Georgia, Texas, and then you have that kind of like secondary tier that's going to be full of Alabama, Ole Miss, and perhaps even Missouri at that point.
All right, so he's saying that Texas, looking at Texas this spring, reminded him of Georgia in 21, 22, and 23. What are they've gone 42-2? Georgia has in the last 3 years back-to-back championships. So, like I said, that's an SEC analyst looking at Texas, who's now a part of the SEC, and saying, "Oh yeah, that's at least the roster, the look of it. That's what they're on par with, and that's the comparison that he can make. Doesn't mean they're going to achieve what Georgia did, winning back-to-back titles. Like I said, going 42-2. That's lofty goals, but at least he said they look like a championship roster." They look like a national title contender. They have the look of it.
Yeah. No, and that's good to hear that somebody who was there can say.
As I'm saying, he saw it. We can say it.
Well,
but
and the biggest piece is this looks like an SEC team.
Yep.
And I think that's kind of the piece that Sarkis said he's been trying to build to, knowing that you're going to the SEC, is can you build an SEC roster? And just saying the size of when they get off the bus, this looks like an SEC roster, a team that can win it. And the depth, it's a very good sign, because that's what Sark has been trying to build for the last few years. And all the success you can have in the Big 12, when you go to a new conference, it's, it becomes a new battle.
Yeah. And the Longhorns are replacing you're replacing like 13 starters. You're 11 guys drafted into the NFL. And to have him go to the spring after all those guys have left and say, oh no, they look like a champion now. It's like, whoa, after losing 2 NFL D tackles and 3 NFL wide receivers and NFL tight end, and now they still look like a champion. That, I think, or at least they look like they're a team they can compete for a championship. I think for Longhorn fans, I thought that that clip would get Longhorn fans excited. It got me titillated. That he's basically saying to me the pecking order is Georgia and Texas. And by the way, that game now, Georgia at Texas, is so huge. I mean, I think it's huge for Quinn individually, because it's going to be a straight up, just a quarterback face off, if you will, with Carson Beck, who both of those guys are considered the two top front runners to be the first quarterbacks taken in the NFL draft. If you're Sark and you're trying to compare yourself to the big marquee program in college football right now from a competitive standpoint, it is Georgia. Even because Alabama just lost Nick Saban, so Bama of course is in that conversation, but without Nick Saban, I think we all agree now that title goes to Georgia. Like in terms of what they've accomplished and what they've done, and Kirby Smart and what he's done. So you just get a great, if you're Sark, almost like you having those two Bama games early on in your tenure here at Texas, you just get a great barometer to measure yourself up against Georgia, who, I think Georgia right now, there's some people that believe they and Ohio State could be the two best teams in college football. I think Texas is in that conversation. They'll have a chance to prove it. Quinn will have a chance, I think, to outshine Carson Beck in that game. I mean, when's the last time Texas, if ever, had the number one team with the top quarterback coming to DKR? The number one team against the top quarterback. When was the last time the two, top quarterbacks, who are two projected top quarterbacks in the upcoming draft, got a chance to face off in a regular season game or even a postseason game? I think the last time I can remember had to be Marcus Mariota and Jameis Winston. Right, then I believe they were like 1-2 or something like that, and then they faced off. I'm gonna say that was a semifinal game.
Yeah,
but it doesn't happen very often where the quarterbacks who are projected to be drafted as the top two guys, and that could change. I mean, who knows? I mean, I'm not saying that's going to be it, but right now, that's Vegas says those guys have the best odds. Carson Beck and Quinn Ewers to be drafted as the two top quarterbacks and have them face off in a regular season matchup. You don't see that very often. So I just think it's a lot now, not a lot riding on that game necessarily. It is a lot riding on it, of course, but I just think you're going to be able to, for Texas, kind of see where you are in this championship build. You get a chance to now measure yourself up against one of the defined championship programs of the last 5 years in college football. So I think that's going to be fun. Okay, let's get to Quinn Ewers, because he is, speaking of how big of a year it's going to be for Quinn Ewers, EA Sports certainly thinks so, because he will be one of the featured athletes on the new college football video game. It's confirmed now. You had all the leaks and stuff earlier this week, but it's confirmed he's going to be on the cover. And it's him, Travis Hunter, and Donovan Edwards from Michigan are the three featured athletes on the cover. And let me ask you this: has there ever been an athlete on the cover from a team who had a losing record the previous year? There's no way that's ever happened.
No, I can't imagine.
It can't. That's just why.
Well,
would they
it
do
used
that?
to be it could only be players who already graduated.
Yeah, because of the NIL and all that.
Yeah, so it used to always be people that graduated. So it was always a guy who had a good season the year before.
Because he was an award winner.
Yeah, so unless you had,
team,
because normally you're going after like Heisman winners or award winners, and normally those don't come from losing teams.
Yeah, so this is definitely the first time that's happened. And I guess that's an achievement of sorts for Colorado. There's no doubt about that, having Travis Hunter there off of a team that won 4 games the year before. But yeah, we talked about why I think they chose those 3 guys, because I think those 3 programs were the most talked about programs. Who are the biggest names in those programs? But you could argue Shedeur Sanders maybe a bigger name, or Deion Sanders maybe a bigger name than Travis Hunter. So I think they chose Travis Hunter strategically. I think it made sense. And Donovan Edwards, obviously from Michigan. He's the most notable offensive player from Michigan. They could have the best players on defense from Michigan.
Yeah,
they're not going to put a defensive player on the cover of the video game after the first time they revived it after 10 years. It's just not going to do that. They know it's about offense. So I think for Quinn, though, this is the 3rd time, by the way, Texas had a player on the cover. Brian Orakpo was on it, I believe, in 2010, if I'm not mistaken, and Ricky Williams was on it in 2000. Those were those. So Quinn joins that elite group. But Quinn was at the Cotton Bowl, if I'm not mistaken, where I believe that's where they did a lot of the graphics and the pictures for the video game cover. And they did an interview with him because he was just there, and some of the footage has leaked out. And he was asked about his rating on the game. He was asked about, the other guys' rating on the game, what he thinks is going to be. And he was also asked about the Longhorns, how good they're going to be on the game. Here is Quinn Ewers talking about his new video game cover of the EA Sports College Football video game for 2025.
What's your rating going to be?
I'm going to be unbiased here. I'm going to go from what I truly think I'm going to be. I think I'm going to be around a 96 overall.
It's pretty damn good. That's a pretty good number. What about your boys here? What about Trav?
I think Trav's going to be around the same, 96, 97. I'm not sure if they're going to put anyone at 99, but if they do, I think he'll be the closest to it just because his overall ability on offense and defense, special teams, he can do it all three phases. And then Donovan will probably be the same, 96.
What one stat do you think they're going to get wrong for you?
Dude, probably my speed, man. I'm telling you. They're probably going to put me like a 70-something speed, but I think I can sneak up in the 80s if they really got me out there and they saw me run.
What's the 40 time?
I haven't ran 40 in a while, but I'll tell you this.
Oh, come on.
I'll tell you this right now. We have GPS systems, and I hit 20 miles an hour.
Ooh.
So I'm rolling in the school zone.
All right, you are rolling in the school zone. A little slow in the school zone, but you're rolling.
I follow the laws, man. I follow the laws.
What about Texas overall? What do we think the overall will be for the team?
Definitely, for sure, in the 90s. I think around 91, 92, something like that.
How long do you have to hold on to this knowledge that you're on the cover, but you can't tell anyone?
Oh, man, for a while. It's kind of cool because, obviously I'm missing workouts this morning, so everyone's like calling me like, dude, where are you? I'm like, got some stuff going on. I'll be back tomorrow.
Has anybody called you out and guessed it, and you just got to fib your way through it?
Yeah, because I'll be like, I'm not going to be there Monday. They're like, what you got going on? And obviously they see the stuff that's like coming out, and they're like, is it something to do with EA Sports coming out? And I'm like, dude, what? I didn't even know that was happening. Where'd you see this?
Believable. Hey, thank you for your time. I appreciate it, my guy.
All right, there you go, Quinn. Quinn's having fun, man. I'm happy for Quinn, and that's like I said, that's a huge accomplishment to be a cover athlete on the EA Sports college football video game. One little thing though, can we agree Texas speedometers might be a little suspect now? They go serious now. They got remember Arch had 20 miles per hour. We were like, ooh, Arch had 20 miles per hour. That's amazing. That's great. That's awesome. He's such a great athlete. And now we got Quinn at 20 MPHs as well. Suspect speedometers now. Let's be honest. Suspect. That's suspect speedometers.
Suspect. I don't know, man.
Come on.
Maybe someone pushed him at the end. He got up to 20.
Everybody's running 20 miles per hour. How fast is Jaden Blue? How fast is Xavier Worthy? Is he like an Olympian? Is he Usain Bolt out there? Come on.
Xavier Worthy's going like 45, 50.
Come on. Quinn at 20 miles per hour. Come on, man. Come on. Okay. Can we agree? They're a little suspect.
Look, I'm just saying maybe somebody said you got close to 20 and he got
rounded up.
He got like 16 and they rounded up.
I was like, well, hold up, Quinn at 20 miles per hour too. And I know he is faster than you think. You saw it last year. He can run. He can run a little bit, but he can't run. 20 miles per hour. They got everybody running 20 miles per hour over there. Next day we're gonna hear Kelvin Banks be like, I hit 20 miles per hour actually at one of my workouts. Okay. All right, everybody gets his 20 miles per hour. Come on.
Alfred Collins comes out. I think I get to the quarterback. I hit 20.
Exactly. I'm like, hold up. What is I need to see these speedometers, man. I need to see what's going on with these little
Brett
body
Auburn's going to get 20.
Yes, I'm saying exactly. It's like, hold up, you guys are diminishing the speed, man. When you hit 20 mph, you go, whoa, okay, that guy's moving. And now you're telling me Quinn's running it now too, and you hear Trey Owens like, oh yeah, I hit that 20 miles per hour. We're in that 20 miles per hour club, baby. It's like, what? That was funny. That was fun. All right, we'll come back. We got a 512 Friday will return. Also, Patch is going to introduce the topic for the Big Fat Poll today, right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Baby's coming back on the horn.
Back on the Rodcast here on a Friday morning. That means it's a 512 Friday where we play local music you can go check out around town all this weekend. This is the Harvest Thieves. They are playing Saturday at the White Horse. You want to go check out a little honky tonk and a little
it's a nice song. I like
country down there at the White Horse. Harvest Thieves there Saturday at the White Horse. Let's get to the big fat poll of the day. Text line's open 512-447-3776.
Patrick's big fat poll of the day on the Horn.
Big fat poll of the day today. We saw the Giants unveil their alternate jerseys this year, and they are hideous. They're up there for the all-time worst jerseys in NFL history. So I'm going to ask you guys, and I want to get some different opinions. I have some that I've already picked out, so we'll see if these fall in line with the ones I have. But who has the ugliest NFL jerseys of all time? There are a lot of these alternates are really, really bad, especially the throwbacks. A lot of the throwbacks were really bad because they try and.
I want to say it might be the Steelers. I remember the Steelers' old throwbacks.
The Bumblebee? The Bumblebee ones.
So
they had the Bumblebee ones. I didn't even mind the Bumblebee ones as bad as some of these other ones. And when we post it online, I'll try and post it up here in the 7 o'clock. I took some pictures of the ones I'll have, and you can see those. So I'll put them up. Okay. I'll put the picture up there so you can see them. The 2007 Eagles 75th anniversary is pretty awful. It is. It's yellow and blue, and it just doesn't look like it. It looks like, if you got it in Little League, you would be upset. Because it's like it does not look like an NFL jersey. The white pants, the yellow and blue, it does not look good.
Yeah, I can see that.
The 2009 Broncos 50th anniversary is brown, and it's supposed to be like gold, but it's yellow, and all of it kind of looks like you change babies' diapers, right, Dron?
Oh, come on.
That's kind of what that whole jersey looks like.
Oh no,
that is what the whole jersey looks like. And then I threw in there the 2009 Seahawks neon jerseys. Those jerseys,
I do remember those.
That were trying to be cool, but they were trying to be cool in a way that when your grandma's trying to be cool. I got you this hip new shirts, and you're like, I can't wear this in public.
Yeah, that's I agree. I'm not. Some of the throwbacks I just don't get. The Giants one, I'm with you. I don't understand who signed off on it and who thought it was a good idea.
I do know what I think I know why most of these throwbacks happen is somebody higher up has the idea and they're too high up to be told no.
Okay.
And they're like, hey man, these jerseys look awful. And they go, yeah, but are you going to go tell the 85-year-old owner of this team that his idea was a bad idea? Or are we just going to wear ugly jerseys? They go, well, we're just going to wear ugly jerseys because this guy doesn't think they look bad because he remembers when we wore these jerseys.
That's true.
He remembers when we wore leather helmets and we didn't.
That's a good point. Yeah, you're right. If it's like the billionaire owner who's like, I don't know, 70, 80 years old, and he's like, what we should do? And you're like, oh no.
Oh no, we
should. You got to do it. You're like, it's a great point.
And I think too, when they sit and they go, oh, it's just a jersey? Oh, I thought you wanted us to trade the whole team. Okay. All right. As long as you're not talking personnel, we're all right. We'll do this.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sure that came from the top because you just one look at them jerseys, and you're like, no, they're not going to try to sell these things. Like people aren't going to try to buy those ugly jerseys. And I get that's usually the point of having those jerseys. The option is that you make them available to the public. You can sell them and make some more money in merchandising. I don't know how many of those they're going to sell.
No, I mean, I do wish, jerseys. we get mic'd up players for games. I want mic'd up players when they walk in and see the jerseys and they have to put them on to like model them. Like, oh, is this like a prank? Oh, I get it. Where's Ashton Kutcher? Is this, I'm being punked, aren't I? This is not the real, these are the jerseys?
These are the jerseys? Oh, they look like jerseys that would be for a fake football team in a movie or a TV show. And
yeah, we had rights to nothing.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Well, yeah, you couldn't even put like any logo on or anything, but that's what I said.
They look like in Madden when you're playing Madden, you like relocate your franchise in Madden and you're picking out the new jersey, and you think in your head you're like, I'll create this really cool jersey, and then you realize the options are so limited that all you could do is like, and here's a stripe, and you're like, but that's not like it's across the middle of the jersey. Why would you put a stripe in the middle? Like I put it on the side. Like, can I put it on the shoulder pad? No, in the middle.
Oh man, think about that. That was fashionable back in the day. That's back when they did not bring a lot of creativity to fashion. It's like, let's put a stripe in the middle. That's fashionable. It's like, okay.
Well,
There
no,
you
I mean, this looks like they used 3 different fabrics back in the day, and they just sewed them together.
They probably did though back in the day. Back in the day, that's probably the best they could do and what they had.
That's one thing
days.
I'll give the Cowboys is the Cowboys have traditionally had pretty simple jerseys.
Oh no, they were. I love the ones with the stars on the shoulder.
Yeah, but it's like they have
pretty
pretty simple jerseys. They've never gotten too, so you can't go into the worst the worst jersey conversation because they've never really taken the full swing, and they're smart not to because they're just classics, and they always look like classics, and they never really look where you can say, well, that one's not as good as the others, but it's not, going off and pushing something, doing weird numbers. Where a lot of people start to go too crazy on the numbers.
Yeah, the numbers look weird. The Steelers did that, I think, too, right? The
Yeah,
Steelers
like when Tampa Bay did the numbers for a while, they had weird trying to be cool numbers. They're starting to just like just regular,
like,
because they don't all look good.
And stuff.
Yeah, and you're like, well, this number looks good. But like, what about 17? Like, oh, 17 looks pretty bad. 17 looks like really bad. Like, one doesn't look good. 88 looks good, but 17 looks pretty bad.
Looks bad. Yeah. No doubt. And I'm with you on that. I've seen that before. I'm like, I don't know if I like that. All right, there you go. So that's the topic for the big fat poll of the day. All right, we'll come back. We'll get into. Actually, I want to talk a little bit about the ACC, and something that is not being discussed enough is the basically slow deterioration and the crumbling of the ACC, because the ACC, I believe, it will lose, or at least will be a very diminished version of itself coming up here in the very near future. We'll talk about that. It's being reported by Ross Dellinger. We'll get into that. We'll actually hear also from Jimbo Fisher. Jimbo Fisher made some sort of borderline controversial comments. I don't know if he made controversial comments or just keeping it real. But we'll talk about that. We'll hear from him. Also hear from Dabble Sweeney once again. He's having to defend his comments and his actions about the transfer portal. So we'll talk about that and hear from him. And will walk-ons no longer be a thing in college football? Could the walk-on disappear in college football? That's actually a conversation happening if some of these antitrust lawsuits end up terraforming and changing the future of college football forever. It actually may be one without walk-ons, and we'll talk about why that is, and we'll hear from Matt Rule talking about that too. So we'll get into all of that and more when we return, talking some college football. Got Raj Rant. I'll dive into the biggest mystery from the 2023 season with Texas, with the red zone offense. Why was it so bad? How can they improve it? We'll dive deep into it. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Babers coming back on the horn. Welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a freak flag, feel good, fake it till you make it. Ric Flair, woo! 512 Friday edition of the Rodcast. 512 means my man Patrick Davis, the co-host of the show. Also, the Idillionaire comes up with all the musically themed days of the week. 512 Friday is when he plays jams from local bands and artists, very talented human beings that you have a chance to catch live right here in the ATX. Who are jamming right now, Patrick?
This is Madam Radar. They're playing a big show Saturday at Antone's. They're doing a recording of the show, a live recording. So it'll be a fun show where they're going to play some really good stuff, have a lot of production value and all that out there for a good show Saturday for Madam Radar, one of the coolest bands in town.
Nice. There you go. My man Patrick always hooking you up on a 512 Friday. This Friday started off in a very strange way because we never get breaking news on morning shows. Just stuff doesn't break in the morning. But it was breaking news early this morning. First segment of the show, and the news was that Scotty Scheffler had been detained by authorities there outside Valhalla Golf Club before the PGA Championship, and it was in response to him trespassing a police barricade, drove past a police barricade, allegedly. I'm not gonna put allegedly with all this stuff until we get both sides. Allegedly drove past a police barricade and was told to stop, did not. And there are reports that when Scheffler exited the vehicle after bringing the vehicle to a stop, obviously allegedly trespassing the barricade, that the police officer pushed him up against the vehicle and put him in handcuffs immediately. There are also reports that he was taken out of the handcuffs briefly, but that was just to adjust them, put him back on. And there was also another report, and this comes from Michelle Steele, who's an ESPN reporter. She said, reportedly, she said Scheffler did not stop after a police officer asked him to stop. Scheffler did not stop the vehicle for 10 to 20 yards. This is according to a Jeff Darlington report. Said he stopped and things escalated from there. When he got out of the car, police put him in handcuffs and then put him in the back of the car. And there was also a report from Peter Burns that says that when he was actually en route to the course, an officer told their vehicle there was a fatality involving a bus, and then someone tried to run over one of our cops. When I followed up if person in question was taken off premise, he responded, that person is going to jail. Traffic into the course is not moving. So that person allegedly it was Scotty Scheffler. So like I said, these are the reports that are coming out now, and we'll have some audio of Jeff Darlington, who's basically there right now. And honestly, ESPN's giving this thing kind of like the OJ treatment. Like it's going round the clock now. They haven't even discussed any other time. They really have. They've like just basically done away with all the other shows, and they're just going round the clock. I'm gonna see if Fox Sports is doing the same thing. Fox Sports is actually still talking about sports. They got some basketball stuff on there. ESPN's going round the clock. They're like, no, OJ treatment. We're going to it. Boom, a whole time. So they're just talking about Scotty Scheffler's unfortunate incident where he was detained and arrested. And he's going to jail. We don't know how long he's going to be in jail, but he's going to jail, and we don't know what the charges exactly are either. Because that has also not been reported. So that was the breaking news. And that is, like I said, the top story. And such a bizarre story. Just very strange, Patrick, and bizarre in so many ways. Definitely more questions than we have answers right now. But that's the latest. That's the latest.
Yeah, it's going to be so interesting if he comes back or not. If he gets out and if he comes back, walks back on the course, like, let's go. Let's go. Don't talk about it. Let's go.
Huh?
Let's go.
Oh, that's a lot of street cred right there. That'd give a lot of street cred, man. I mean, I'm talking about all around the sports world. I mean, because everybody, you'd have to tune in. That's like must-watch television.
Well,
Dude gets out of jail and then goes right to the
then you have to figure out too. So if they impound the car, are his clubs in the car? Are his like change of clothes and all that? Is all that in the car? Do they have to get that stuff too?
And this was they played yesterday, right?
Yeah,
they played
right?
yesterday. Okay, so I don't know. Maybe I don't know if you keep your clubs. I don't know.
Maybe he's got a locker there, and
I don't know. Maybe the caddy's responsible for the clubs. I don't know. That's a great question. I don't know. That's a great. These are all, like I said, more questions than we have answers right now. But either way, I like it. It would be very gangster if he just got out of jail and went right to the golf ball. Matter of fact, his call from jail could be to the PGA Championship. People tell him, "Hey, hold off my tee time. Just wait. I'll tee off. And when is the last possible time I can tee off?
Yeah.
And
Move
still
everybody up, and
qualify."
I'll go. Yeah. And I'll come in there. And then the best part is when they have to give him a police escort back.
We gotta get. He just just a reprieve.
No, like when he gets out of jail, and then the PGA pays for a police escort to get him back to the course.
He'll probably have his own private security. Yeah, I imagine that'll all from there for like, listen, y'all deal with my private.
We'll see if we get the OJ cover of the police escort back to the Scotty Scheffler's currently en route. He's en route.
Dude, I'm telling you, on ESPN they kept coming back to the footage of him being escorted with handcuffs on, put in the police car, being put in the back, and they just kind of kept rolling the footage. I'm like, okay, they're giving this kind of the OJ treatment here. They're just going with it all. We'll see how long if they go back to any actual sports. Seems like right now they just go. It's a huge story.
I can tell you why ESPN's doing enough, because I believe the PGA Championship's on ESPN and ABC. They have the television rights to it.
So they got all the.
This is the story right now, because we got to try and make golf. How do we make golf interesting? I don't know. Arrest one of them.
Dude, like I said, it's good for golf. It's bad for Scotty, because Scotty just had a kid, so he didn't want to go to jail. Nobody wants to go to jail. But it's good for golf because, dude, we're gonna talk golf all day, and that's not even talking about the actual competition. We're just gonna be talking about Scotty Scheffler. And if he comes back, like you said, if he comes back out of jail and decides, nah, man, I really want to play, and ends up, qualifying and then winning this damn thing, or even competing to the last day on this thing in the final round, oh man, it'll be the biggest story in sports. The NBA will be pissed. They'll be like, damn it, we got some good games. Like, nah, man, if you want to pay attention to Scotty Scheffler, he's gangster.
He comes back today and pitch it golf's like a 10 under.
And he could do it. He's so damn good. I mean, he's the hottest golfer in the world right now, and honestly, no golfer has been this hot probably since the Tiger Woods days. That's how good he's been lately. And that would be a great story. I also could see him and just kind of his disposition going, nah, you know what? I want no part of any of it. I'm going home. I just had a baby. I want to hang out with my wife and my kid, and I'll see y'all at the next tournament. Now it is a major, so you want to make sure that you play in as many of those as you can in terms of your legacy. But I also could see him being. Remember, this is the guy that said if his wife wins labor in the Masters, he's like, no, I'm leaving. I'm out. I don't care if I'm leading the Masters. I will leave if my wife goes into labor. So he's built different. He's a man of God and all that kind of stuff. He's built a little different than everybody else. So I don't know what he's going to do, but I'm with you. That'd be some straight up gangster stuff for Scotty Scheffler. He'd get a lot of street cred if he did that, came out of jail. And like I said, it'd be a great story. All right, let's get into some of this. And there's obviously some other stuff I want to get into. I want to get into this ACC story a little bit. First, we got the Horn headlines. We'll get to the Horn headlines, but I want to get to this ACC story, and then we'll hear from some college football coaches, former college football coach too, Jimbo Fisher, but also Dabo Swinney, Matt Rule. A lot of different things to say about kind of the changing landscape of college football. And coaches are being more outspoken, I think, than ever before too about this stuff, because I think they're kind of frustrated. So you're hearing more and more coaches speak out about they're saying the quiet part out loud. And they used to didn't say the quiet part out loud. A lot of coaches are saying that. So we'll get into that too. But first, let's see the Horn headlines, get informed, educated, updated with all the big stories of the day. One man, Patrick Davis, and the Horn headlines.
All right, your Horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. Texas baseball needed some ninth inning heroics to pull off their 5-4 win over Kansas. The Longhorns gave up a go-ahead run in the top of the ninth, but were able to get the runs back in the bottom with a Jalen Flores walk-off double. Texas continues their series with Kansas tonight. And Texas softball begins their quest for a national title as the 1 seed in the Women's College World Series this afternoon against Siena. Other teams in the Austin Regional include Northwestern and St. Francis. In the NBA, the Timberwolves forced a Game 7 with the resounding 115-70 win over the Nuggets. Anthony Edwards had 27 points, and Jaden McDaniel added 21 more. But the real story was a lockdown defense the T-Wolves had shown in Game 1 and 2 was back. And Game 7 will be played on Sunday. Tonight, the Knicks and Pacers head back to Indy for Game 6 in a series where the home team has won every game. In Major League Baseball, the Astros get the sweep over the A's after an 8-1 victory yesterday, getting them their 7th win in 8 days as they try to right the ship as they head into a weekend series with the Brewers. And the Rangers will face the Angels at Globe Life Field this weekend, with Andrew Haney getting the start tonight, looking for his first win of the season. And that is your Horn headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the horn headlines. We appreciate those. Okay, let's get to this ACC story really quick because I think it's really interesting, and it almost seems like this is a done deal. Now, for those who haven't heard, there are a lot of unhappy members of the ACC, and some of the most high-profile members, Florida State and Clemson, are causing a disruption. Essentially, they are already starting the process of trying to exit the ACC because the ACC's the fees basically and the overall revenue distribution for the ACC is a Grand Canyon sized gap away from the Big Ten and the SEC. And a lot of the administrators and the decision makers over at Florida State and Clemson believe because of their brand, Florida State, and what it has done, Clemson winning national titles, they believe that their brand is worth more than the revenue share they're getting in the ACC. Now, the ACC has agreed to an unequal revenue sharing deal as a result of this. They just did it like earlier this year. So they've agreed on an unequal revenue sharing deal. They have criteria for it just to try to get Florida State and Clemson and teams like that more money because they know they're unhappy. And looking at where the Big Ten is right now and looking at where the SEC is right now and what they're making, they're not even close. The ACC and the Big 12, go look at the college football playoff distribution numbers, right? The SEC and the Big Ten each get 29%. The ACC and the Big 12 are going to get 17 and 15%. And you go look at where the SEC and the Big Ten schools are going to earn excess of $70 million from the new TV contracts and new deals once they become a part of the SEC and the Big Ten. And the ACC members are going to get around $20 million. They're going to be like $20 million behind. At least 20 million behind. It could be even more behind. And as 3, 4, 5 years from now, that is going to be a huge, disparity, even bigger disparity than it is right now. So you got Clemson and Florida State, two of your powerhouse blue bloods now that are unhappy in the ACC, and they have each filed suit in an effort to leave the league over the revenue gap between the different conferences, as I just explained. Now they got to worry about North Carolina. David Bolick, he's one of the trustees on the board for North Carolina. He said, quote, "I am advocating for North Carolina to leave." He said, "That's what we need to do. We need to do everything we can to get there, or the alternative is the ACC is going to have to reconstruct itself. I think all options are on the table." So he said they should pursue exiting the conference, or at least file the suit like Florida State and Clemson. So it seems inevitable at one point. I don't even know how they're going to fix this because they're not going to make more money. They can have an unequal revenue share and try to give them more money, but it's still not going to close the gap between what they're making and the SEC and the Big Ten teams are making. And that's ultimately what their dispute is about. So like I said, now you got North Carolina that wants out, and you got Florida State and Clemson that want out. I don't even know what you have left if Florida State, Clemson, I guess.
But I don't know where they go. I don't know. They're expecting that all these other people are going to open up their arms wide open and say, Florida State, you're the best team in the world. Come on into the SEC. We'll welcome you with open arms. But the SEC, they have to vote. And I can tell you, none of those teams want to take less money to let anybody else in.
You're right about that. No, I don't disagree with that at all. But this is why I do think there's a reckoning potentially coming. Matter of fact, you have this sound from the Iowa State AD. It's Jamie Pollard, I believe is his name. And listen to what he says about because you're right. There's not like room left in the SEC and the Big Ten. And the television broadcast partners, they don't want to shell out more money. Like, we just gave you guys billions of dollars, all right, to secure the rights. And now you want to renegotiate already, even before the new product even comes in. We know it's going to be great, but you want to renegotiate already. And you're going to have to do that if you bring in North Carolina and bring in a Florida State or bring in Clemson and somebody else. You need dancing partners, right? You got to bring these in even numbers pretty much to try to even balance things out in the conference. Listen to what Jamie Pollard, he's an AD for a power conference school, Iowa State. Listen to what he says about what could end up happening in the future.
You just have to look at the evolution. It isn't the SEC and Big Ten. It's those that have all the gold make all the rules, right? So if I was a member of the Big Ten or the SEC, I'd start looking over my shoulder and wondering when's the day going to come when the top of the SEC is not going to want the bottom of the SEC. I mean, go back and look at times when the AFL and the NFL merged, they only needed one commissioner. And when the ABA and the NBA merged, they only needed one commissioner. There's going to come a day they don't need two $6 million a year commissioners, and they're going to eat their own. And if we think that's not going to happen, you're a fool, because we didn't think the Pac-12 would get eaten, and it did. And, the CFP is just another example of our industry running amok, and they're trying to, swallow the ACC and the Big 12. And I wish them all the best, because they're going to eat their own.
So you think the Big Ten and SEC do not exist separately at some point? Is that what you're saying, I guess, in terms of how you phrase it with the commissioners? I'm
just saying from an evolution standpoint, if you'd asked me 2 years ago, is the Pac-12 going to be existent in 2025? I think all of us would have said yes. So you don't have to look back very far to see what's happened, and you can see what's happening. And so it's reasonable to project into the future and say, why wouldn't you think that will just continue? That those with the gold will make the rules.
Yep. That's how it happens. And listen, he's already talking about it. He's like, oh no, man, they're gonna kick out those schools that ain't produce enough money, and they're gonna put in a Florida State, the schools that I don't know how they're gonna do it, but at one point he's even telling you it's gonna happen, because Florida State athletic director Michael Lafford said with the college football playoff numbers, we're now talking about being 40 million behind Big Ten and SEC schools every year.
Yeah,
they won't stand for it. They can't stand for it. At that point, they're playing different sports.
No, and I agree that you need to get more money, and you should be like, why the fact they have not fired this commissioner and completely gotten rid of everybody in charge of the ACC.
Yeah.
That
Jim Phillips is the commissioner, by the way. We should have said that. Yeah,
and start there. This guy's a guy who signed the idiot contract. This is the guy who didn't see the future. That's the idiot in the room. So if you want to go say, okay, let's try and rebuild, let's build some other things, and we can figure out. But the fact that, first of all, I don't think that a bunch of teams want to play another really good football team. I think they say, we see the SEC plays 3 non-conference games on purpose because they want to play a few easier games. So I don't know if the SEC and the Big Ten want every single team to be, and now the commissioners might, but I don't think the schools do. I think the schools would be fine playing some easier games and having a few games that are not necessarily the biggest. Now, at a certain point, will it change? Yes, when that new TV deal comes up, but they'll just sign new TV deals. So why do we need to bring in somebody else to split the money we already made without you? We'll need you when we need to get a new TV deal. That's when we need you.
No, I know. I'm not, like you said, but they always want to expand the revenue pie. Period. That's what this is all about.
Yeah.
That's why they increase the playoff, and that's why you're getting all the consolidation of it. So it is a way to get more money. About what Jamie Pollard's saying, and I think what you're starting to see is kind of the separation of more of the have and have nots. Here's a quote from the article from Ross Dellinger, and I want to play Jimbo Fisher's comments too here in a second, because I think they actually kind of tie into this. This is what one administrator said. He said, now look, it would have been basically the smart thing to do for the ACC members to move and to go to higher revenue generating conferences. That's what he's talking about. But he said the SEC and the Big Ten have cut us open, and they're just watching us bleed out. Because just having the option to go to a conference where you can make $40 million more a year makes it worth it. It's worth it. No matter what you're doing to do, the exit fees, no matter how much of a legal battle it's going to be, it's worth it. It's 40 million extra a year, guys. And that's what they're talking about. It's like, no, we're leaving, guys. That's too much money. And they know that if the Big Ten and SEC are offering that, which, like you said, you still got to get the offer, whether that be behind the scenes from the networks or whether that be behind from the commissioners of these conferences. But that's a lot of money to pass up.
No, I agree.
That's a lot of money to pass up. And that's why he's saying they just cut us open, man. They're watching us bleed out, because they are right now, what they are offering major college football brands, other conferences just can't offer it. They just can't. And the Big Ten and the SEC are going to control basically how they just did with the college football playoff revenue share, how this money is distributed. And they're like, man, we're getting ours.
Yeah.
And we're going to get more of it. More and more of it. And that's kind of that's why they said they're just watching us bleed out, because they could help us. They could say, hey, even revenue distribution here, guys. We need to help the ACC. Let's a rising tide lifts all boats. They say, no, but the SEC and the Big Ten like, nah, man, we got to start looking out for us. And I'm not mad at them, because with the lack of leadership in college football, you'd be a fool not to look out for yourself. We're watching Game of Thrones stuff happen here. The Kliavkov, he trusted the Big Ten and thought, oh man, we have an alliance. No, we're all working together. Nope, you got backstabbed, man. And they took it, and the same thing happened to the Big 12 commissioner, right? Same thing happened to him. He thought, oh man, all these guys, because he thought, I'm cool with Sankey and I'm cool with all these commissioners, and behind his back, they were trying to poach Oklahoma and Texas behind his back. It happened. You really can't necessarily trust that the decision makers in college football now are going to do what's best for the overall greater good.
No, but I don't think you ever could have. I don't think it's been that way ever. I think people have looked out for themselves, and it just started to shift of who now is actually controlling it. And when the TV networks came in with a lot of money, they bypassed the NCAA to point. But the NCAA did not care about the students for a long time. They would suspend students for random stupid things. They would not allow things to happen, even though circumstances were allowed. Like, it's always been unfair. It has always 100% of the time been unfair. Because that's what capitalism is. Capitalism is not
but
built
now
to
we're
be
taking
fair.
it to the extreme, though.
No, we are because the more and more money.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I agree.
This is the first time the free market has actually been exposed to college football. So it is very different. It's
for everybody.
Very different
For everybody.
Yes.
The free market's been there. It was just not for everybody. It was for the people on top.
So now the free market is what I'm saying. Now the free market is officially in college football. So yes, of course, now we have to get rid of the notion of amateurism and the notion of having, a lot of balance and, equality in the sport. You're not going to have that. It's about inequality here, because you have to have who's generating the revenue. We don't want to watch every program in college football. We only want to watch the big brands in college football.
Yeah.
That the ratings tell you that, and they're consolidating those big brands, right? That's why they're bringing them into two conferences.
Yeah.
And the networks knows it, like, no, man, we don't need to. We're tired of supporting all that other stuff too. We want to consolidate it, so we can actually bring in the masses and bring the eyeballs. So I'm not disagreeing with you, but I just think we're in a different era. Matter of fact, Jimbo Fisher talks about this. Can we get this Jimbo Fisher sound? Jimbo Fisher was on Sirius XM, and he was talking about, basically the new landscape of college sports with all the money. What are you talking about? The revenue distribution. We're talking about NIL, the transfer portal. Here's what Jimbo had to say about the separation of the have and the have-nots.
Here's what's happening. All your mid-majors and a lot of your even not mid-majors and some of these other, and I'm going to say ACC, Big 12, Old Pac-12, some of those leagues, they're becoming glorified junior colleges. And some of those teams used to battle for playoffs and have great teams because, all right, they took that 3-star guy or that 4-star guy you missed, and they developed him into a heck of a player, and he became a great player at their school. How about Patrick Mahomes at Texas Tech? Would he have ever stayed at Texas Tech? Somebody would have came and got him. You know what I'm saying? And what's happening, and then your halves are out there saying, okay, I need a corner, I need a tackle, and I need a running back. They have one, and they're going to these 4-year schools and just selecting, and those guys are really becoming glorified junior colleges, and it's a shame. And I mean great college football programs that have won big in the past and had tremendously great players, but that is what's changed. And I think if we don't even it out, I don't know what the answer is, but we got to get to some parity somehow, some way. But it's pushing to exactly what you said. I don't know if it's 40 teams, 45, 50, 30. I don't think it's going to be as many as you think. That's the sad part. Because how many's in the Big Ten now? How many schools in the SEC is going to be what, 16? We were 14, 16, going to be 16. Yeah. All right, how many's in the Big Ten?
I think it's 14 or 16. I think.
No, you got 18, don't you?
18. Wow.
Yeah.
18.
And so you're 32 to 34 teams, somewhere in that realm right now. And so and that's probably why I would, it'd be interesting being Amelia Island right now with Florida State, Clemson, North Carolina trying to get out. Those meetings over there are going real interesting right now. And I know why. Yeah. They want to be a have.
Right.
And listen, to go some history, EJ, when you were there, sometimes when I came back from those meetings, I was in a bad mood. I got into it with the commissioner over there trying to tell him this was coming, and they wouldn't listen to me.
Yeah.
We got into a couple of knockdown dragouts, and I was letting them know this is coming, and we weren't, in my opinion, weren't doing some of the things we need to do in that league to allow us, because at that time we were as good as anybody in the country. During our 8 years there, we were in the top 2 or 3 winning percentages in the country and winning and ready to win national championships. We won one and played for them. But I knew eventually it was snowballing because of what we were doing from a conference alignment, and it's even getting that stretch is getting greater as we sit here.
There you go. I rarely agree with Jimbo Fisher, but I agree with him there. I mean, it's pretty obvious what's happening, and the fact that that either the powers that be don't want to stop it or don't have the power to stop it says a lot.
It just always gets me. This guy left the school that he was at to make more money. He got paid $75 million because he couldn't get a job done buying players at A&M, and he couldn't keep that team together. And then he comes out and goes, well, I don't have any solutions, but I'll tell you everything that's wrong. We know, Jimbo. We know what's wrong. We know
I think he's talking about his time at Florida State, though.
No, I know, but he left Florida State for more money.
I know, but he was talking about his time at Florida State and why they didn't listen to him. And Florida State's now in the situation they're in now in the ACC. And he said, if y'all would listened to me earlier, y'all could have started the process and y'all could have been in the Big Ten or the SEC already. That's what I think what he's talking about, not this time at A&M.
Yeah, I know he's saying that it's going to be the have and the have-nots, but we've seen
they should have listened to me then, and they didn't listen to me.
But that's the point is, if you're going to participate in the game, you can't be mad at the game. And all of these coaches who have made millions upon millions of dollars, and then now we're saying it's unfair because there's other people making millions upon millions of dollars in the game. I don't care about you. You're the reason, because when you started to charge more and more, and when all the money started to roll in and all of it became more and more money, that's what's going to happen. And you had no problem with it until it blew up in your face. So I get that you're there, but if you don't want to offer solutions, then you are part of it. Jimbo Fisher is just as guilty as a lot of other people. And he can say, well, I could have told him. But would you tell him and say, well, I'm not going to take this money, and I think we should need to run the game. I'm also, with NIL, I'm going to take the Dabo Sweeney approach. No, you didn't, and that's fine. But if you're going to come out after the fact and then say, I was right, by the way, and that's why I took my parachute, and I have $100 million now because of what I did, I get it. I just don't care what you have to say anymore, because you're not helping the problem. You're just going out and saying, I suck too bad at doing my job, so I had to get fired because I couldn't win at a school. So now I'm going to go and complain and say that college football is bad. And it's
all right.
We
got some updates on the Scotty Scheffler thing. Scheffler was charged with second-degree assault of a police officer, third-degree criminal mischief, reckless driving, disregarding traffic signals from an officer directing traffic. He has been released already on his own recognizance, and there is a mugshot photo that's already out there. So there you go. He's already been released. So I'm assuming he's gonna play. I'm assuming he's gonna be on the golf course. I don't know how long, but it didn't take long, Patrick. Before I think it was 2 hours, less than 2 hours, he's already been released. He's got some damn good lawyers. All right, we come back. We'll get into Rod's rant on the other side. Talk a little Texas football, all of that and more right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Babers coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn, Rod Babers here. Let's talk about my friends over at Apple Leasing, because if you're sitting in traffic right now, and you're probably miserable. No, everybody who is in traffic is. But if you're sitting in traffic in a car that you actually enjoy, a car that brought you joy, one that you really wanted, one that you really liked, it probably would be a much more enjoyable experience for you in traffic. And that's what my friends at Apple Leasing can do for you. They can get you the car you want for the price you want, for the payment that you want. Apple Leasing has the ability to put you in any make or model vehicle that you want. The pros at Apple Leasing can help you get the right price and the right payment. All it takes for you is one phone call or one click on Apple Leasing's website, and you'll get a quote on any make or model vehicle that you want. They can even give you an estimate on the value of your trade-in right over the phone. Everybody knows navigating the car process can be really stressful. It can be really time-consuming. It can be a bit of a headache. And doing all the research, price shopping, going to different dealerships, vetting the dealers, vetting the salespeople, that can all be really stressful. And honestly, it can make the car buying process a bit of a pain. They want to take the stress out of that process for you. That's what Apple Leasing is all about. They do all the hard work. They do the legwork for you. They do the research for you. They vet the dealers for you. And all you have to do is worry about enjoying that new car smell. Apple Leasing has what they call a simple interest easy lease. And the whole point is to make things, well, simple and easy, giving you more flexibility, which is going to give you more possibilities and options to help you find the vehicle that fits you best. But more importantly, the vehicle that fits your budget best. Inflation is out of control. Everything seems overpriced. That's why leasing makes more sense than ever. You're only paying for the part of the car you're actually using. So call Apple Leasing today, 512-346-9977, and let them see how much money they can save you. They get all the same discounts and all the same incentives that the dealers do, except my friends at Apple Leasing, they choose to pass those savings on to you, the customer. So give them a call, 512-346-9977, or visit appleleasing.com. That's appleleasing.com. Welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get to Rod's round of the day. I want to talk Texas red zone issues, the biggest mystery surrounding Texas football last season. But first, an update on the Scotty Scheffler story. ESPN is reporting that he has been processed but not yet released Pat 40 is reporting, as I just read. Shout out to my man CB who sent me this at Chris GB002000 worth the follow on Twitter. Pat 40 is saying that he has been released on his own recognizance, but so maybe he's in the process of being released. Just want to make sure that's out there. And I don't know. It's tea times. Jason Sobel of Jason Sobel Golf says Scotty Scheffler's new tea time is 10:08 a.m. And I'm assuming that's Eastern time. But he didn't specify. But I don't know. So exactly, that's all we have right now. So he's in the process of being released. So what Patrick looks like, Scotty Scheffler is expected to play.
Yeah,
gangster.
That is an eventful morning.
Oh man,
dude!
And if he comes out,
how many people would make a 10 a.m. tea time after being arrested?
I'm sure it's happened.
I mean, I'm sure it has too.
I'm sure that this. I'm sure it's happened a couple of times. So yeah, I'm sure some degenerates out there can be like, "Oh, I did that in Vegas." Actually, like, okay, we get it. But you're right. For him, that's still. I mean, it's still the top story right now. ESPN. I mean, like I said, they're giving it kind of the OJ coverage. They did go. I think for like a second they went to some NBA stuff. They came right on back to Scotty Scheffler. So that's the big story. And yeah, if he plays, it's gonna be must watch. The ratings will be through the roof. Because this is just free marketing for the PGA Championship. Like if he comes out and plays, he's the number one golfer in the world. After this, you'll have all types of people who don't watch golf going, I want to see how somebody responds to coming out of jail and then playing and teeing it up at the PGA Championship. Yeah, it's gonna be a great story. So anyway, my man Scotty Scheffler looks like he is at least on his way to being released and expected to play this round, today's round in the PGA Championship. All right, let's talk Texas football. Let's talk about the red zone woes. I'll tell you a trend that I saw that was starting. We'll get back into this in the other Rod's Ram today when we talk about the kind of these solutions that I have in mind for Texas in the red zone. But this was a trend that I saw. So Texas last season, they were 120th in the country in touchdown percent in the red zone. As you know, 50.8% of the time they scored a touchdown in the red zone, which is a really, really poor number. They're 90th in the country in just red zone offense, including the field goals, just scoring in the red zone period, field goals and touchdowns. 2022, Texas was 65th in the country in touchdown percentage in the red zone. It's at 65th, so at 62%. They were 65th in the country. They were 19th overall in just red zone offense, red zone scoring. But in 2021, Texas was third in the country in touchdown percentage in the red zone. Sark's first year. 75%, basically 74.5. I rounded up. Touchdown percentage in the red zone. Fourth in red zone offense, period. In Sark's first year here at Texas. And they've gotten, as the team has gotten better, the red zone offense has gotten worse. Isn't that strange? As the roster's gotten better, the red zone offense has gotten worse. So one of my theories, and I think first of all, it's multifactorial. I think your O-line is not necessarily great in power situations. Power situations are essentially short yardage goal line when teams know you're going to run the ball. That's why he brought out the jumbo package. Even though you got big humans and the biggest offensive line in the conference at the time in the Big 12, he added more girth and mass to it because Sark wanted to play bully ball, and there were times where it blew up in his face and ended up being too predictable. And even with the jumbo package, Texas still couldn't punch it in short yardage. So that was part of the weapons. Not enough. It's part of the issue. It's not enough for a push on the offensive line. I think everything happens in the red zone. Everything happens a little bit quicker. So, Quinn getting through his progressions faster has to become something of a priority and emphasis in the red zone too. And I think that's one of the things that we talked about Quinn having to improve on before he goes to the NFL, getting through progressions quicker and deeper into progressions in the red zone. It's got to happen that much faster. And I think that was something that Quinn may have struggled with in the red zone. I think Texas, Sark admitted that sometimes creatively there are some things that he actually struggles with in the red zone creatively. And I think this trend, I should say, it shows me that maybe, one of the reasons for this trend that Texas has gotten gradually worse in the red zone since Sark's first year here when they were really good. Like I said, it's third and fourth, top 5 red zone offense in the country in 2021. It's because of Bijan and Rojo. I think Bijan and Rojo was so special in those situations of avoiding negative plays, having 2 of those types of guys who are, can be considered elite running backs in their own tiers, and Rojo being potentially better in the red zone just because he's more of a power back, but Bijan being elite in all categories. I think it almost provided a default for Sark. And I always said, what was my motto? Put some Bijan on it, right? Doesn't matter what it is. Red zone issues, short yardage issues, third and long, put some Bijan on it. Usually it'll work out for you. And I think Sark did a lot of that in the red zone for Texas when he first got to Texas. And having Rojo there as well really made things a lot easier. And I think for Sark, I don't know if creatively, I think it may have stunted his evolution or development as a play caller in terms of what they're doing in the red zone. Because now the roster is still just as loaded. I mean, last year you had more talent than you had on the roster overall than you had in 2021. There's no question. You had an NFL running back, NFL tight end, 3 NFL wide receivers, the biggest offensive line in the Big 12, and yet couldn't punch it in the red zone when it mattered most. And it's easier to defend offenses in the red zone period because the field shrinks. I'm as a DB, I can undercut everything. I can take more chances as a DB because I don't have to defend, 40, 50, 60 yards behind me. I just have to defend that 20 to 30 yards. So I can undercut a lot of things, and I can be late on some throws. I can, like I said, I can take more chances, and I just don't have to defend as much. So as a DB, I play with more aggression. And all defenders do in the red zone. And that's something that offenses aren't used to either. So I think that's also part of it too. But a very interesting trend that Texas has gotten worse in the red zone. I think a lot of it's a Bijan Rojo issue. But I know, just knowing Sark, I know he probably went out of his way this past offseason because he's recognized that trend too, to dive deep into his bag of tricks, his contacts and connections, to try to figure out what cheat codes he can bring to the table in the red zone. And I'll talk about that when we get into this again in the next time we have Raj Rand. We'll talk about these solutions. And I think Sark has already come up with some. I don't think he's revealed them, but remember, he talked about how well they were executing in the red zone in spring. And you didn't get a chance to really see that in the spring game because they had so many deep passes and so many deep balls. But I think he's probably got some new cheat codes and some new tricks up his sleeve for red zone offense in 2024. And so we'll talk about that a little bit coming up when we go into Raj Rant a little bit later. But also Texas was 5th in red zone field goals. So I will give Sark credit. Once he adapted, he learned, that it wasn't worth it to pass up on those points in the red zone because you couldn't, even though he's a brilliant offensive mind, he couldn't solve the problem of what actually was the issue, what was for Texas, what was the remedy in the red zone. I don't think he ever really solved it all season long. They only had one good red zone game, and that was against Oklahoma State. So that was just more of an outlier. They were bad in the red zone. Even when they were great on offense, they were still mediocre to bad in the red zone. So he never really figured it out, but he decided, I'm going to take the points. I'm not going to pass on these points, even though I want 7. I want a touchdown. And he was stubborn about it early. He decided, nope, Bert Auburn, I'm going to let him get us 3 points because ultimately it's about the win and not my ego and my pride of being stalled in the red zone. And I think early on it was a little bit of that, hey man, I got all these weapons. I'm a brilliant offensive mind. I got all these weapons. Oh, hell yeah, I'll take all 4 downs in the red zone to score. And then he decided, let's take the 3 points. Let's just take the 3 points. And I think it won Texas more games. Him deciding to take. Remember how many games came down to the end there, where Texas had a game saving play or a goal line stand or a game winning play or a game winning drive, and they needed those points. So I think Sark evolved too. I'll give him a lot of credit for that in terms of his red zone philosophy and mentality. So we come back. Now, by the way, I didn't solve it either. So I'm not saying I figured it out. I did not. I don't think Sark figured it out. I didn't figure it out either. It's a great mystery as to why Texas was so bad in the red zone last year and as to why they've gotten worse in the red zone since Sark has been here. Like I said, I think he didn't figure it out because it was multifactorial. It was always something different. It was the O-line on this play. It was Quinn, not getting through progressions quicker on one play. It was the timing with the receivers on one play. It was missed assignments on other plays. I think it was different things, and he could never nail down one consistent trend or one consistent issue to correct. It was always something different. So it was plugging too many holes. And I think ultimately he just wants to improve overall the efficiency in the red zone. And I have some ideas for that. I think I'll try to psychoanalyze Sark, and we'll do that when we go into Rod's rant next segment. Or not next segment, but next time we have Rod's rant. All right, let's get into what the facts, what the stats on the other side. Got a ton of those we'll share about the schedule release yesterday. We'll get back to some of those. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn. All right. I was gonna get into some stats, but I might as well just get these Scotty Scheffler facts out here. Okay, so Peter Burns is saying that we are still navigating the start of round 2 of the PGA Championship. Peter Burns works for ESPN. He said, we are told that Scotty Scheffler is en route to the golf course and is scheduled to make his 10:08 tee time. There are also others who are pointing to a rule. Someone says, this is from Ben Fox, who covers basically betting for Visson. And he says, this comes from an odds maker. He said, quote, I don't ever recall seeing something like this. I've seen guys miss tee times in the past, but not being detained by the police outside a major. He said, I assume if he would be DQ'd by tournament officials if he misses his tee time. And yes, since he started the tournament, all bets would be action. So they're basically saying like the Vegas wise guys aren't going to do anything about the bets. Like he started the tournament, so the bets are in about that. But there are also some saying that there's some dispute about whether they could move the tee time if he didn't arrive there on time. They're saying there are certain rules that would allow the PGA to move the tee time, and there are some saying that if he doesn't get there by the tee time, then he'll be disqualified. Not really sure about it. That's something being discussed. The charges, which have been laid out in the police report here, say that it's second-degree assault of a police officer, criminal mischief for the third degree, reckless driving, and disregarding signals from officer directing traffic. So those are the 4 charges that he's facing. And there's also, and this comes from in ESPN, basically, it comes from one of the tweets from that I saw on the timeline on Action Network's timeline. Based on the police report that's out now, they said it could be where these charges are indicates disposed charges, and they said that may mean that the charges are already in dispute, and could result in a dismissal plea. It says disposed charges are those that have been resolved by dismissal, plea, or trial. So it was like, why would indicates disposed charges be on there unless they've already potentially decided they're going to dismiss the charges or something along those lines? Who knows? So anyway, a lot of stuff going on there, a lot of stuff out there about Scotty Scheffler, but they're expecting him to tee off today, and everybody just kind of waiting around to see if he's going to show up or not.
Roughly an hour. Because 10:08 Kentucky is 9:00. No, I'm saying 10:08 is 9:08 us. Because they're in Kentucky.
Okay, so Eastern Conference, Eastern time.
Yeah, so we're roughly an hour away from when he's supposed to tee off.
All right. That seems like that'd be. I don't know how far away it is, but it seems like that would be plenty of time if he's already in the process of being out and being released. I believe on ESPN, at one point they were saying he had not yet been released, and now they're reporting that he has been released, has been arrested, processed, and released. So they're saying he's been released now, and they're just waiting to see when he shows up. So he's going to play. I mean,
then get there, change clothes. Escort, go get there, change clothes, take a few practice swings, and then you're on the course.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it depends on when he gets there, but he's going to be, oh man, it's going to be wild. And I imagine if you're ESPN, you said, and this is ESPN and ABC are going to be covering the PGA Championship. Wow, they need a Scotty cam. Just keep one of those cameras just on Scotty all the time, man.
I do love too. All these other golfers are like, you're just looking around, and then they see him pulling back up. It's like, damn, he was almost not here. We almost didn't have to. They arrested this man, and I still can't get away from
him. Yeah, they got arrested and still wins the tournament. That would be one of the all-time greatest stories in history of sports. If this dude gets out of jail and still ends up winning a major.
Whew. I tell you.
I mean, you got to give me a better story. I know there's some good stories out there, but that would be one That'd be one of the all-time greatest. That'd be some GOAT stuff right there. That would be GOAT stuff. To win a major after going to jail, that's GOAT stuff right there, baby. So everybody's rooting for Scotty now. I mean, how can you not? Must-watch television. All right, we come back. We'll get back into this story, of course. That's the biggest story right now in sports. And we'll get also some NBA talk in. We'll talk a little bit about the NBA Game 7. Two of the best words you could ever hear in sports. Got a Game 7 happening in the NBA between the Nuggets and the T-Wolves. We'll get into that a little bit. Also, the Pacers hoping to force a Game 7, Game 6 tonight between the Pacers and the Knicks. So we'll get into that a little bit. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a 512 Friday. That's when Patrick, the Idillionaire, he plays jams from local bands and artists. Very talented human beings you can catch live right here in the ATX. Who are jamming right now, Patrick?
This is Pearl Z, and she is playing tonight at the ABGB there on Old Torf, the Austin Beer Garden and Brewery.
Oh yeah, that's a nice spot. Like that. Man, Patrick always keeping you in the know where you can go catch some of these very talented folks, play some live music here in the ATX over the weekend. So we appreciate his efforts. Also appreciate him because he always comes up with great content for the topic for the Big Fat Poll of the Day. Patrick, let people know, which is already posted, by the way, at the Horn ATX, what the topic is for the Big Fat Poll of the day.
Big Fat Poll of the Day. What are the ugliest jerseys in NFL history? We've got up on the poll the 2024 Giants throwback because that was kind of the inspiration for this because those came out and they are really bad. The 2009 Broncos throwback, the 2007 Eagles throwback, and the 2009 Seahawks neon. No one's voted for the Seahawks neon yet. I don't like the Seahawks neon either, but these throwbacks are pretty awful. I posted the picture on there as well of all of them, so you can officially see them in all of their glory and see that they made professional athletes wear these things.
Yeah, that Seahawks one is bad, but it's not as bad as the Giants one. And that Pitts bit that yeah. Oh man, that Eagles throwback is pretty bad. That's terrible, actually.
Yeah,
that Eagles throwback might. Yeah, actually, I didn't realize that. I just looking at the picture you posted. I didn't realize how bad that Eagles one is. That is disgusting.
Yeah, it's really bad, right?
Yes, that's pretty disgusting. I didn't see that.
And then the Broncos look like the Steelers, kind of, which adds into it. Like that's what adds into because the Steelers had the Bumblebee uniform that was all the stripes. That was really, really ugly. This one equals into it because at least that felt like the Steelers colors. This feels like they're not even wearing. Like this doesn't feel like the Broncos at all. And then there is the stripes on their socks and the Broncos one. It is just kind of diaper remnants colors.
No doubt. All right, that's the Big Fat Poll today. Go check it out at the Horn ATX. All right, the big story, of course, is Scotty Scheffler. For those who haven't heard, I'm sure by now you have, but that was the big story. It was breaking news this morning. Started out first segment of the show. Patrick had the breaking news that Scotty Scheffler had been detained and arrested. The details pretty much are. Oh, do we have the sound from Jeff Darlington? We can let him actually give the details. And then I'll give the update since. He has been released, by the way. He's been arrested, processed, and released since, and they are expecting him to make his 10:08, which is 10:08 Eastern tea time. They're expecting him to make the tea time. ESPN they're covering it right now. She's charged. She's got 4 charges right now against him. And we'll get that audio for you. And Jeff Darlington, who's been on ESPN, he's kind of been their point man on this. We'll give you kind of his details about it. But the charges, there are 4 charges that are now, at least on the police report, that have been charged on Scotty Scheffler, against Scotty Scheffler. He's been charged with 2nd-degree assault of a police officer, 3rd-degree criminal mischief, reckless driving, and disregarding traffic signals from an officer directing traffic. Yeah. But has been processed and released. So, do we have the Jeff Darlington audio? Here's Jeff Darlington of ESPN giving the details on what happened to Scotty Scheffler.
Entering Valhalla Golf Club this morning, we witnessed a car pull around us that was Scotty Scheffler was in the car. To be very clear about the details here, Scotty Scheffler has been detained by police officers, placed in the back of a police vehicle in handcuffs after he tried to pull around what he believed to be security, ended up being police officers. They told him to stop. When he didn't stop, the police officer attached himself to the vehicle. Scheffler then traveled another 10 yards before stopping the car. The police officer then grabbed at his arm, attempting to pull him out of the car before Scheffler eventually opened the door, at which point the police officer pulled Scheffler out of the car, pushed him up against the car, and immediately placed him in handcuffs. Scheffler was then walked over to the police car, placed in the back in handcuffs, very stunned about what was happening, looked toward me as he was in those handcuffs and said, "Please help me." He very clearly did not know what was happening in the situation. It moved very quickly, very rapidly, very aggressively. He was detained in that police vehicle for approximately 20 minutes. the police officers at that point did not understand that Scottie Scheffler was a golfer in the tournament, nor, of course, that he is the number one player in the world.
They didn't know. They still didn't know. You still didn't know who he was. I'm sure at one point Scotty had to drop the line like, "Hey, do you know who I am? I'm Scottie Scheffler, man. I'm a golfer in this tournament." Oh man, talk about that. So he is saying that the cop attached himself to the car. So are we talking about basically the cop went for a ride? Did he say attached himself to the car? Did I get that right?
I'm guessing I don't know if attached. I mean, I would assume attached means he like grabbed a door handle or something.
You grabbed something on the car.
He had to grab something. Yeah, he
it.
attached himself. So I would assume he grabbed something. I don't know. We'll have to see the video because you just don't know how bad it is. Because if it's
what you waiting?
Yeah, because if it's really bad, then Scotty's going to look terrible, and you go, "Oh yeah, that's horrible. You can't do that." Or if it's something of he's literally just walking beside the car. And maybe Scotty didn't see him, then maybe it's a bit more understandable. It's probably not good either way, but yeah, in the whole situation, it just doesn't seem good in anyone's camp.
And it was, for those who don't know, and I don't even know if he mentioned it there was an accident. There was an accident like right on the way to the golf club, to Valhalla Golf Club. And so there was a huge delay. There was a backup, about an hour delay or so. Because of this, it was a fatal accident, if I'm not mistaken, right? It was reported earlier that it was a fatal accident. Maybe they have adjusted their report, but it was reported that it was a fatal accident. Some type of wreck, and he was delayed like an hour because of that. And I guess he was panicking about whether he was going to be there on time or not. And because of that, he decided to make the decision to trespass the police barricade. And it makes sense that he thought it was security and not police, which is why he probably was like, "Oh, I got this." And why he probably went in maybe a little bit more aggressively than he probably should have. He's like, "Man, these are damn security." Because remember, it was reported also because Michelle Steele is the one, and she said a context from Andy North. She said there's often run-ins with security trying to get in and out of these events. But nothing like this has ever happened at a major involving player. So they probably do have security all the time outside these big events, especially like a major. But there was an accident, a fatal accident. So the security was actually police instead of just the security hired by the PGA or hired by the golf club. And then maybe that he usually is like, "Oh man, I've done kind of stuff like this when we've had issues or we've had disruptions. And I'm fine. I just talked to the security people and they never pull rank on me because they're security, not police."
Yeah.
And then maybe when he did this, the cop was like, "What the?" And then, he probably like, "Oh, I'm fine, man. What are you talking about? What are you acting so aggressive?" Because the way Jeff Darlington explains it, he was in shock. He's like, "Dude, what is going on? Why?" So he did not get out of the car. It's like, "Hey, do y'all know who I am? I'm late for I'm late for my tea time." He got in the car like, "Oh, dude, I didn't realize you guys were actual cops. What's going on here?" So it could just be a huge misunderstanding, but it escalated, and it escalated quickly. Yeah.
It seems like at some point it's a misunderstanding. But yeah, it definitely did not end well. But we'll see. He's got his tea times in less than an hour now. So
gangster.
We'll see if he gets out there and tees off, and how he does today.
Gangster getting out of jail, about to go tee off in a major. He's about to get some, but his street cred is about to go through the roof. The Scottie Scheffler street cred is about to go through the roof. And for him, it's just obviously a very surreal experience for Scottie Scheffler overall. He just had his first child, a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah.
Maybe, and then so he's been on a high kind of from that. And now they're saying, that Scottie Scheffler is going to face charges. I'm assuming he's got great lawyers, but the second-degree assault of a police officer, I'm assuming, is the most serious of these charges. The rest of them are, you got third-degree criminal mischief, reckless driving, disregarding traffic signals from an officer. That's all stuff.
That seems like fines. Yes.
Yeah, that's a good lawyer. He can just kind of, he can legalese that away pretty much.
Yeah.
The second-degree assault of a police officer, I'm with you. That's when we got to go to the tape.
Yep.
That's one you have to go to the tape. Did indeed, police officer get in front of the car, tell him to stop? Police officer did he attach himself, or could that be an overblown detail where Sky just kind of went by him and maybe the officer thought he was in danger but actually wasn't in danger, that kind of stuff. So I mean, that makes sense as to why he would go past a police barricade. It's like there's a police barricade. Like it's so, but he thought it was, oh, it's just golf. That's just the golf club security, man. They're just making sure they keep out anybody who's not official, who doesn't have the badge, that kind of stuff. And he probably just went in and very unfortunate. But the mugshot is out there already, and he's been processed and released already. So that's the big story.
Yep.
For those
already made it into a shirt.
Yeah, he already made. Yeah, I mean, CV sent us this at Chris GB 00 Barstool Sports at Chris GB 002000. Barstool Sports has a hashtag Free Scotty shirt already out there. Free Scotty with the mugshot on there. Done. Oh, that's great. Oh, so there's also, I love this. There's somebody that created a graphic of Scotty Scheffler in a golf cart with Tiger Woods. Except they replaced them in the golf cart with the white Bronco chase.
Yeah, that's
what I'm saying. And the internet's about because it's not obviously not that serious. And at first we didn't, and I think the fatal accident of somebody who might have passed away where this all started, that is unfortunate and that is very sad. But what happened to Scotty Scheffler? Let's be honest, that's just bizarre more than anything.
Yeah,
and he'll be. I mean, he's got lawyers to take care of it, but it's straight now. This officer, who was the overzealous officer, because both of them were in the wrong, but the officer, I wonder who the officer was that, like the one in question here, because that's going to be, I think, the overwhelming factor in determining is it actually assault on a police officer or not. But yeah, misunderstanding, I think, is where it started. But yeah, there's no doubt he trespassed on the police barricade. That goes without question. Did he endanger the welfare of an officer of the law? That, I think, is the biggest question now. That's the serious issue. Everything else is, I think, is stuff we can make fun of. And SNL will have a skit about it. And it'll be all the late night talk shows will have nice jokes about this. And that is actually really good for the PGA. I know it sounds, obviously it's something that's salacious, but hey, man, we've been talking golf all morning, and everybody's going to want to see how Scotty Scheffler did after he got out of jail. And if he is leading this tournament, people are going to watch him all weekend long.
That's
just
true.
To watch his, how he, really how he carries himself, his body language. Is he, joking? Is he serious? They want to talk to him. I'm sure his lawyers are probably telling him, no, don't talk to the media at all. So you might not hear from Scotty Scheffler, but you get to see him, you get to watch him. All right, let's get to the Horn headlines really quickly. That's probably the biggest headline of the day. Let's get to the Horn headlines, get updated, educated, and informed with all the top stories of the day. And then we'll come back, talk a little NBA. But first, my man Patrick Davis with the Horn headlines.
Horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. Texas baseball needed some ninth inning heroics to pull off their 5-4 win over Kansas. Longhorns gave up a go-ahead run in the top of the ninth, but were able to get the runs back in the bottom with a Jalen Flores walk-off double. Texas will continue their series with Kansas tonight. And Texas softball begins their quest for a national title as the 1 seed in the Women's College World Series this afternoon against Siena. Other teams in the Austin Regional include Northwestern and St. Francis. In the NBA, the Timberwolves forced a Game 7 with a resounding 115-70 win over the Nuggets. Anthony Edwards had 27 points and Jaden McDaniels added 21 more. But the real story was the lockdown defense the T-Wolves had shown in Games 1 and 2 was back. Game 7 will be played on Sunday. Tonight, the Knicks and Pacers head back to Indy for Game 6 in a series where the home team has won every game. And in Major League Baseball, the Astros get the sweep over the A's after an 8-1 victory yesterday, getting their 7th win in 8 days as they try to right the ship as they head into a weekend series with the Brewers. And the Rangers will face the Angels at Globe Life Field this weekend with Andrew Haney getting the start and looking for his first win of the season. And that is your Horn headlines.
Yeah, man. Scotty Scheffler's about to become a rock star. He's about it's the crossover appeal. This is it, guys. Remember, we were just having this conversation about Scotty Scheffler. I swear we were just having this conversation. Matter of fact, we was talking to man Charlie Wilson about it, and his dominance was actually good for the ratings for golf, right? For the TV ratings, because he was so dominant. There was he didn't have a peer right now. There's no rival. Like, he needs a rival. You always have a great rivalry going on in any sport, a great rivalry in golf. He needs a rival or a peer. And maybe that could be Rory, maybe that could be somebody else. But one of the things people have talked about with Scotty Scheffler is that he didn't have enough appeal himself in terms of his a mass appeal away from golf, right? Because he is a guy that's really humble and meek, and he doesn't necessarily seek the spotlight. And I mean, I'm sure he gets a lot of I'm sure that he has a whole lot of different endorsement deals, but you don't see him on a lot of stuff like that. And he talks about how I just want to get home and hang out with my family. He's a family oriented guy led by his faith. And some people thought, he's great, but he's the number one golfer in the world. You need him to be an ambassador for the sport. You almost need him to be a superstar, need him to have more mass appeal and be more attractive to the masses and bring in the novice fan, someone who's not necessarily a golf fan, but someone who will come in just because of your celebrity status. And this is it. This may be one of those events where, and it's unfortunate, but one of those events where it makes him more of a household name to people who they don't know what the hell is going on with him as a golfer, right? But they hear number one golfer in the world got arrested before the golf tournament. What? That's crazy. People are talking about it on Bravo. They're talking about it on late night talk shows. They're talking about it on SNL as a skit about it. And then he becomes more of a pop culture figure, not only the most dominant golfer in the world, but then you crack and penetrate pop culture, which is what Tiger was able to do, right? Phil was able to do that in the golfing world. That's the key. Hell, you're Arnold Palmer. He got a damn drink. You're able to penetrate pop culture. And that is really the key to you having more mass appeal. And I hate to say it, this may be one of those random events. It's like Kim Kardashian's sex tape. It's like, that's what gave her mass appeal. Yeah, it did. It's crazy to think that's what gave her mass appeal, because it was about Ray J and her, banging it out on a sex tape. But in the end, when you flipped it, because we live in a world where you can turn shame into fame and fame into fortune. That's the Kardashian blueprint. And not that that Scottie Scheffler even seeks or needs that, but we need him to have mass appeal. And to have mass appeal, you must penetrate pop culture. Pop culture has to adopt you in a way where you can transcend from the sports page, whatever your genre is, to the masses and to the front page. This may be it for Scottie Scheffler. I don't think he's had a moment where he's going to be trending more than he's trending right now. And if he wins this damn thing, he's going to own the weekend. And I guarantee, like I said, pop culture, they will open up their arms wide for Scottie Scheffler after that. He'll be on memes and he'll be on GIFs and everything. He'll become iconic in a way he never could have become just as a golfer. This is it. This is your moment, Scottie. This is it, baby. This is it. I'm telling you, this is your moment, but go win this damn thing. And, oh, man, we'll be talking about Scottie Scheffler all week long. I love it. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. That's okay. That's my take on Scottie. This is it. I was talking to Charlie Wilson about it. My man Charlie hit me up. Yeah, this is it. This is the moment. This is because we're all talking about it. And I think if he goes up and wins this thing, which everybody expects him to do, it really could kind of catapult him into a different stratosphere in terms of how recognizable his name is. Not to golf fans, because in sports fans, we know him, but to everybody. Yes. Like the Caitlin Clark thing, like to people who don't even know anything about sports. Oh, I can't wait. All right. And I'm excited. I'm excited to watch golf. How about that? Give Scottie Scheffler props for that alone. Then I'm like, you know what? Okay, I got to go home and catch. I got to go DVR the PGA Championship to go catch Scottie Scheffler and his round right after getting out of jail. And how he responds to it. I got to go DVR. I'm going to do it right now. I got my TV. I'm doing it right now. Look at it. Got my remote. About to DVR some golf, people. It don't happen very often. About to DVR some golf here, man. This is going down.
For the record, Scottie Scheffler is 5 back of the lead. Xander Schauffele had a huge round. I know he had that huge round yesterday, so he's 9 under. But then number 2 is 6, so he's 2 back of second place, and we'll see. But yeah, that is But yeah, he's within range. He's within range.
Within range, man. Ooh, yeah. I've never DVR'd the PGA Championship. I just did. So there you go. It's done. History being made here in the neighbor's house. And it's because of you, Scottie Scheffler, and whoever the officers are. I don't know who's in the right and who's in the wrong here. We don't know what happened. Like I said, you go through a police barricade. Think about the cop on the opposing side, though. He's trying to rope stuff off and clear things out, and he's gathering information.
Doesn't know who you are.
A car, it doesn't know who you are, and all he sees is a car. And I believe it was early, so it was dark, right?
Yeah.
Car just comes rolling up, going through the police barricade. I'm not say what you want, but they probably saw that and thought, oh man, we're in danger. Like somebody's coming up here doing something crazy. Whether so that's why you don't do things like that. He probably been better if he'd have walked up to the barricade.
Yeah.
If he'd like parked his car like outside, like pulled to the side and out of the traffic, and just walked up there. I think it would.
Yeah. What's going on?
It'd have been less threatening. The car coming up is threatening. You don't know what's in that damn car. So if you're a cop, you're like, a car just rolls up past the police barricade. You're like, whoa, man, what's going on? It's aggressive.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? If he'd have parked that car and walked up, I bet he'd have been. I'm not saying I bet he'd been good, but I bet he'd have been.
I bet he wouldn't have been arrested.
He wouldn't have been arrested, but I say they'd have been to call somebody. They called somebody,
yeah,
and been like, and somebody come out. Oh no, man, that's Scotty Scheffler. Dude, he's in. No, sorry guys, he's in. That's Scotty Scheffler, and that kind of thing. So I don't know. Well, trust me, as a brother, I've always watched how I approach cops and how I communicate with cops. I got a lot of respect for police officers, so I always gotta watch how I approach it, and I always think it through. Like, all right, how can I do this in the most non-threatening way possible to to get my point across or whatever it may be.
You think he tried to do the Dave Chappelle? The Dave Chappelle? I didn't know I couldn't do that.
the old George Costanza. Was that wrong?
Was that wrong?
Was that wrong? It's like, yeah, Scotty, that was wrong. All right, so Scotty Scheffler, he's the man right now, man. Everybody's talking about Scotty Scheffler, and hopefully he comes out and he plays the round of his life. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. Okay. Let's talk about the NBA just a little bit because we haven't talked enough about the NBA at all today. Scotty Scheffler's been stealing all the headlines. But you do have now a Game 7, two of your favorite words, Patrick, in all of major American pro sports, especially when you're talking the playoffs. Game 7 between the Denver Nuggets and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, Game 6 was terrible. Well, it wasn't terrible, but it was just an Old Testament-style butt whipping.
Yeah.
A 115-70 win by Minnesota. Remember I kept saying that Game 2, it seemed like it was an aberration, an outlier. This was basically kind of the same thing, except they were at home. This is basically kind of Game 2 all over again. Largest postseason winning margin for the Timberwolves in their history. It was the largest playoff loss ever for a defending NBA champion in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things where once again, Denver didn't come out with the intensity. They came out knowing that they had they needed to win 1 out of 2. They knew that. And I think they didn't come out with it. And then once Minnesota kind of got the scent on them, they said the scent to the kill, they were ready to go. And they started to play that defense again and get the hands up and threw Jamal Murray off. And once Jamal Murray was off, they were off to the races. And it just kind of snowballed from there. Jaden McDaniels also really added in early on because he starts hitting threes. He starts scoring points. He starts getting to the basket. They were able to pull out and not get the rim protection. So Minnesota was just attacking the points, attacking the basket at a point. Anthony Edwards was doing Anthony Edwards things. But like you basically saw, McDaniels and Edwards took over the game offensively. Karl-Anthony Towns still didn't even have a good game. And it didn't matter because they were able to just run away with it. And by the time you got, the second half, Denver tried to make a little run and it got thwarted. And once it got thwarted, it was basically game over. Denver threw in the white flag and said, screw it. Let's rest up and we'll come back at home and we'll go beat them at Denver and we'll go beat them at home. But we're not going to try and waste all our energy trying to fight back out of this hole.
Yeah, no, it definitely seemed that way because that was a run in the fourth quarter by the reserves. The reserves had a 24-0 run in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And I think at one point, they were up by as much as 50 or something like that. So you're right. They definitely waved the white flag at one point. But I think the most telling stat, it tells you kind of the defensive strategy for Minnesota about kind of cutting off passing lanes, being quick in their rotations, and really trying to isolate Jokic and not allow him to be a facilitator, not allowing their offense to run through him. He can score, but we can't let the offense run through him. He had 2 assists.
Yeah.
He only had 2 assists. Like that is, I can't think of the last time Jokic had that few assists in a game. I mean, that's just unlike Jokic because the offense usually is able to run through him and he can be a facilitator.
Yeah,
they cut off those.
What's the last time that he had the assist to turnover ratio? And I mean, it was probably earlier in the series, but he had 3 turnovers, 2 assists. He usually does not have a negative assist to turnover ratio.
Agreed. That was a good strategy. And it seemed like they allowed Rudy Gobert to kind of be a roam more, be more of a help defender.
Which
and Cat was the first line of defense on Jokic. They doubled him a lot.
Yeah, and they did that before, and it was what was working before. The problem was once Aaron Gordon started coming out and playing really well, it kind of threw off.
Yeah.
It threw off what they were doing. It felt like in this one, Jamal Murray was trying to go again, and they just shut down Jamal Murray. When he gets the ball too much, they know how to stop Jamal Murray in those situations and pressure him. And it depends too on how the refs are going to call the game. And I think being at home for Minnesota and being on the edge, they were going to let them get away with a little bit more. And once you get away with that little bit, it's, and it's just how you call it. It's not necessarily going one way or the other. You're just calling it a little bit looser, letting them bump a little bit more. And they know, hey, man, once the refs don't call us on bumping Jamal Murray, bump him all game. Just keep bumping until they call it because it pisses Jamal Murray off. He wants to get a foul every time. And so every time he does it, the same thing we talked about with Luka and the Mavs, that Luka, when he started just top focusing on it, his game came back to him. Jamal Murray gets so caught up in someone bumps him, 90 feet away from the basket and just a little tap on the hip, and he'll flail his arms out and go, "Oh, why did I get the foul?" And you're like, well, now the whole possession is thrown off because one guy just gave you a little bit and he bumped it, backed off. And they're not, and if they're going to call that, then you can't do it. But if they're not going to call it because they say it's inconsequential to the game, then you can't let it become consequential. And Jamal Murray does that too much. But I think they're just trying to force the ball in the guy's hands. They want to have it, and then they can play better defense. But you're just trying to cut off passing lanes to guys you don't want to get the ball. And I think, that's part of it is keep cutting off, having Rudy Gobert, play the riskier chance on Aaron Gordon and not let him get to the basket. Having those kind of plays, it's risky, and Denver's going to be able to go in. I don't think you can do it 2 games in a row.
Yeah, you got to have something. You got to have a change up.
You got to change it up because if you try to do it again, Denver will have the counter move when they go back home, and it could be bad again for Minnesota. But, you get a game 7 now, and that's all you can ask for is game 7s.
Yeah, and Jamal Murray, man, I know he plays better at home, but he has just been terrible. You're right about that. They've done a good job. Jaden McDaniels and Anthony Edwards being able to defend him. They've done a really good job. He started 1 of 10 in that game, ended up with just 10 points, but he was 4 of 18 on those 10 points. Also, the return of Mike Conley.
Huge.
Was big for him, too.
Huge.
That was big for him. They all talked about that, too, in the postgame. It was like, man, he was awesome.
No, he had night and day.
Yes, they are a different team with him. You can tell he's one of those kind of emotional leaders and like kind of spiritual mascot for that team.
But just
everybody in the postgame talked about his presence.
And I mean, like we talk about Jamal Murray getting frustrated when you have that calming force out on the court, that everything, okay, we're reset, we're going, be here, be there, and just running the offense, but letting everyone know where everyone's supposed to be and communicating and all of that. He does so well. It was such a big addition for them. That was one of those pieces that on the year they made the Rudy Gobert trade, they got him late, and everyone started to point out, they go, that's a different team with him on the court than before, because they have guys on that team that just can't, that don't know really what they're doing. But when he gets out there and directs it, they play really well. And I'll tell you this, if you're the Mavs right now, or even the Thunder, you got to love the fact that this is going 7, because if this game, if they won it last night, then you now have a waiting giant in Denver who's resting, but now you can win your game first and actually get a little bit more rest than Denver or Minnesota, whoever wins.
Yeah, no, the Mavs, you got to be, I mean, you can't afford to think about that, but you need as much rest as possible.
Yeah.
Before you face whichever one of these teams, because both of these teams are deeper than the Mavs and just frankly better than the Mavs. They may not, Luka can play like obviously play like a transcendent player, but man, Minnesota and Denver, I think the winner of that right now might no doubt will be considered the front runner to win the West. All right, let's get to. Oh, you know what? Have you heard a lot of Anthony Edwards post game talk, post game media availabilities?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Do you know how much he casually cusses with just answering questions from the media? Have you noticed that?
He does.
It's very casual though. Like he'll just drop an S-bomb. He'll be like, man, I was just, and it's just like what? Like he was asked about Mike Conley. He was asked about, what was the difference in the game? He's like, we got Mike Conley back. That was it. That was one of his comments. And He also, when he was asked, "Hey, did you tell because apparently he called his shot. He told the people that work there in Denver, like the people that work in the locker room, the people that work there at the facility, at the arena. He said that we'll be back for Game 7. Like, no, it's going to be a Game 7. We're going to be back for Game 7. And when they asked him about it, on telling the locker room attendant that they'll be back, he said, "Hell yeah! I told them I'll see y'all in Memphis for Game 7." He just those are just two examples of recently, but I've heard him before. He kind of just he casually cusses.
And the reality is, there's more players that do that. There's a number of players that do that. They're just not stars. Because normally the star players, from the time they are in, even high school, but then go to college, then the college is saying, "Hey, you need to work on these things. You're the face of the school now. You're doing that." I don't know if he was that guy. I mean, he was the number 1 overall pick, so he was that guy. But at Georgia, I don't think they cared as much.
I'm not criticizing, but he does it though. He's like and they're right. Nobody even on the team. I don't know if their PR person has been like, "Hey, man, let's try not to drop the F-bombs and S-bombs." And
but I mean, that's how they just showed him walking out in, a tank top and saggy sweats, walking out of the arena, and you're like, yeah, that's not, most players don't, get away with this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
that the team will say, no, dress coded and do whatever. He's just kind of his own dude. But that's why a lot of people like him, is because he's authentic and he's himself.
Yeah, no, I love him too. I think he's great. I think he's great. But like I said, I think he can be one of those guys that could end up being an MVP candidate, like an American-born MVP candidate. We haven't seen that in some time. But he probably does need to stop cussing so much casually.
I don't know. Tom Brady can do it with Michael Strahan.
That wasn't casual. That was forced. That was cringeworthy forced too. I just threw that out there about Anthony Edwards. He's great though. All right, let's come back. We'll get into some Texas football discussion. There's a comparison that I think will have Longhorn fans giddy. That we'll get to, and also hear from Quinn Ewers. He's a cover boy now of the new EA Sports college football video game. It's official. We'll talk about what that means on the other side, right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn. All right, welcome. Oh, I'm watching live. Scotty Scheffler's out there, ladies and gentlemen. He's out there in all white too, like a white knight. Oh man, it's raining. It's raining too, and he's out there in all white. Oh, in all white Nikes. Like, oh man, he's clean. He's clean. I'm loving it, man. I'm loving it. He's smiling too. He's smiling. He's got a nice smile on his face. This is beautiful. Oh yeah, come on, Scotty. Come on, Scotty. Do the damn thing, brother. Do the damn thing. You have the round of your life and become the biggest story in sports.
If it's raining, can he do that Shawshank, the line from Shawshank?
At the end, that scene, the Andy Dufresne scene. Oh yes, please, Patrick. Oh, that would be fantastic if you do the Andy. If he wins the whole damn thing and does the Andy Dufresne scene at the end, that would be great. That would be great. All right, yeah. So he's there. He's out on the golf course and he's in a good mood. So it looks like we will get to watch Scotty Scheffler right out of jail. I mean, golf people, hit me up. Let me know. Has it ever happened? Like publicly, somebody that got right out of jail and then went out on the golf course. Has that ever happened? And then have they won the damn thing? And then it's a major on top of that. Oh, this story just writes itself. Okay, let's talk Texas football. So Peter Burns, who does a great matter of fact, Peter Burns has been reporting on this story because he works for ESPN and behind the scenes, and he's a golf enthusiast as well. But he also does a lot of great work with SEC networks and SEC analysts. So he gets a lot of behind the scenes looks, the best SEC teams and the worst ones. And also you got a behind the scenes look at Texas this past spring because he hosted the Texas pregame for the spring game on LHN. So, so I got a lot of respect for Peter Burns. Actually, I think he's really good. I do a lot of my prep. I'll check him out from time to time as well. And he was recently on a podcast, the On the Beat podcast, and he was talking about the SEC in 2024 and who are going to be the front runners to win the SEC. And listen to what he says about the University of Texas.
Is Georgia still the de facto pick 1 and 2? Your thoughts on Carson Beck and the Heisman Trophy?
Yeah, I mean, you look at where Carson is at right now. I think he's probably right at the odds-on favorite or pretty close to it, along with Quinn Ewers. And I think that's the 1-2 matchup that we're going to see. And it's odd that we're not going into a season talking about Alabama, but I think there's just so much uncertainty around that program. And is it, what Kalen DeBoer is going to bring in year one? How much did they lose? And especially in the wide receiver with Nye Black and Isaiah Bond both going to Texas, which we'll see in the conference, which is going to be crazy. But how much did Jalen Milroe grow? And those are the question marks I have for Alabama, which means to me that the top 2 teams to beat right now are going to be Georgia and they're going to be Texas. Mike, I was just down in Austin. I handled their spring football game, and it looks every bit like the way Georgia looked in 2021, in 2022, and 2023. I mean, they get off the bus. They're monstrous people. They're deep in every position. And now they got a quarterback in Quinn Ewers coming back, and they got a pretty damn good backup in Arch as well that wowed in the spring game. So, to me, that's where I look at it. I think the pecking order is Georgia, Texas, and then you have that kind of like secondary tier that's going to be full of Alabama, Ole Miss, and perhaps even Missouri at that point.
All right, there you go. He is essentially, Peter Burns is saying what he's seen from Texas is the way they look right now. They have a look of a championship team, and not only the look of a championship team, the look of Georgia the last 3 years. Guys, Georgia has won 2 national titles, back-to-back national titles, and gone 42-2 the last 3 years. He's saying Texas has the look of a team that can accomplish half of that. Texas is about to go on one hell of a run. Speaking of that run that Texas is about to go on, it is official that Quinn Ewers is now a cover athlete for the new EA Sports college football video game. It's official, and I found this out. My man CB tweeted this to me. Anwar Richardson of Orange Bloods. He reported this yesterday. That he said, "Here's an interesting EA Sports college football tidbit. I was told EA Sports originally wanted to shoot the cover of the EA Sports game at the Rose Bowl. However, Texas quarterback Quinn Ewers suggested they shoot it at the Cotton Bowl instead, and EA Sports thought it was a great idea." So my man Quinn, showing some clout there with the EA Sports folks, shooting it here in the great state of Texas. So they did. They shot the pictures for the cover at the Cotton Bowl. And there at the Cotton Bowl, Quinn was interviewed by a reporter about his experience as a cover athlete of the new video game and what he thinks his rating's going to be and how good he's going to be on the game. Here is what Quinn Ewers had to say.
What's your rating going to be?
I'm going to be unbiased here. I'm going to go from what I truly think I'm going to be. I think I'm going to be around a 96 overall.
It's pretty damn good. That's a pretty good number. What about your boys here? What about Trav?
I think Trav's going to be around the same, 96, 97. I'm not sure if they're going to put anyone at 99, but if they do, I think he'll be the closest to it just because his overall ability on offense and defense, special teams, he can do it all three phases. And then Donovan will probably be the same, 96.
What one stat do you think they're going to get wrong for you?
Dude, probably my speed, man. I'm telling you. They're probably going to put me like a 70-something speed, but I think I can sneak up in the 80s if they really got me out there and they saw me run.
What's the 40 time?
I haven't ran 40 in a while, but I'll tell you this.
Oh, come on.
I'll tell you this right now. We have GPS systems, and I hit 20 miles an hour.
Ooh.
So I'm rolling in the school zone.
All right, you are rolling in the school zone. A little slow in the school zone, but you're rolling.
I follow the laws, man. I follow the laws.
What about Texas overall? What do you think the overall will be for the team?
Definitely, for sure, in the 90s. I think around 91, 92, something like that.
How long do you have to hold on to this knowledge that you're on the cover, but you can't tell anyone?
Oh, man, for a while. It's kind of cool because, obviously I'm missing workouts this morning, so everyone's like calling me like, dude, where are you? I'm like, got some stuff going on. I'll be back tomorrow.
Has anybody called you out and guessed it and you just got to fib your way through it?
Yeah, because I'll be like, I'm not going to be there Monday. They're like, what you got going on? And obviously they see the stuff that's like coming out and they're like, is it something to do with EA Sports coming out? And I'm like, dude, what? I didn't even know that was happening. Where'd you see this?
Believable. Hey, thank you for your time. I appreciate it, my guy.
Loving the swag of Quinn. Different swag. Can we agree, Patrick?
Yeah, very much.
Quinn was 2 years ago. Different swag to him. And that's really good. You need that from your quarterback. I got one thing I want to bring up here. I'm not trying to be a hater at all. Can we all agree now? And Pat, that's why you laughing, because I think you might be on the same page with me. Can we all agree now? The GPS trackers or speedometers they're using in Texas, they're kind of janky. I don't know how accurate they are. We heard that Arch Manning ran 20-something miles per hour, and we're like, man, okay, Arch Manning's such a great athlete. Man, imagine him back there with that kind of speed. And now we hear Quinn also running 20 miles per hour. I mean, who's not running 20 miles per hour at Texas? Apparently, I don't know. I don't know how accurate. I don't know how much faith I have in those GPS monitors now, Patrick. That Quinn also has clocked at 20 mpHs too.
Do you think that was in practice, or do you think that was in a game?
Does it matter?
I know if it's in a game, then we have the video. We can go send it to
That's fair. That's true. I think it was in practice. It's a good point. I think it was in practice. They was clocking.
Yeah, because if it was in a game, then you could send it to a third party and
have like a data scientist.
Yeah, data scientist, and see if we really got it, and then we will be able to tell for sure.
And I think honestly, there's a company that does that. It's called Real Analytics. They literally do that. They're the ones who. Remember, I had the ran a few months ago about Xavier Worthy running the fastest time or being clocked as the fastest player in college football when he had that kickoff, that punt return. And they clocked Jaden Blue as also the fastest running back in college football as a ball carrier, in-game ball carriers. So there's a company that does it. It's called Real Analytics. And trust me, they did not have Quinn running 20-something miles per hour. So these are happening in practice. And I just want to know, I mean, who's tracking this and who's documenting this stuff and who's telling these kids they're running 20 miles per hour? Do they see the actual data? Do they see the number, or do you got somebody just telling them they're running this fast? Because I don't believe it.
So
anymore.
you think that?
I'm sorry.
You think that he ran 12 miles per hour and they told him there was a 2 in it and he thought 20?
I think he's running like 17, 18, and like, man, you right up there with the rest. You right up there at 20. It's like, no, you don't
think the fact that he's out there on the field with Jaden Blue and Xavier Worthy and they're running sprints and he's like, I don't want to lose by like they're already eating lunch and I'm still running. That's how fast they are. I gotta get faster.
What did Xavier Worthy get clocked at then in practice? With like 28 miles per hour? Is he like Usain Bolt numbers or something? Like what? Come on, man. Like, I don't know. Next time we'll hear Kelvin Banks clocked 20 miles per hour in practice too. I want to say they said Byron Murphy was at 18 mpHs at one time.
Yeah, we couldn't crack 20. If you ask him, he got 20. He got 20.
I think I don't know how much faith I have in some.
Tavondre Sweat got 25.
Yeah, exactly. 25. He's a freak. All right, we'll come back. We'll talk. I'll give you an update on Scotty Scheffler and what's going on. He's getting ready to tee off at the PGA Championship. We'll give you an update on that and more. Also, we'll get in off the record, a little off the record as well. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis here. Let me tell you about my friends over at Ironworkers Local 482. What you may not know is that many of the iconic landmarks that you see here in Austin that make this city so unique, that make it so appealing, actually were built and constructed by the skilled craftsmanship of Ironworkers Local Union 482, like the Pennybacker Bridge and DKR Stadium. The folks over at Ironworkers Local 482 don't just go to the office, they're the ones who actually build the office. So if you're looking for a refreshing career change, or maybe you're looking for an exciting employment opportunity, or maybe you want a new challenge, or maybe you want to feel valued by your employer, you can become a valued member of this prestigious organization, Ironworkers Local Union 482. And right now is the perfect time to do it. They're hiring over 3,000 people for a huge project right here in Central Texas. They're offering competitive wages, competitive benefits, and a pension plan. They even offer training for unskilled labor through their apprenticeship program. So right now is the perfect time for you to become a member of Ironworkers Local 482 and take pride in the type of teamwork and craftsmanship that helps shape the future of our great city. So go online and apply today at ironworkers482.org. That's ironworkers482.org. All right, so let's just get the latest updates on the Scotty Scheffler situation. He's out there warming up right now, so he's getting ready to tee off at his agreed to scheduled tee time, which was 10:08 Eastern. So we'll let you know when that happens. But here's a statement from Jeff Darlington, who's been following it from the jump, this incident, from Scotty Scheffler via Jeff Darlington. He said, quote, "This morning, I was proceeding as directed by police officers. It was a very chaotic situation, understandably so, considering the tragic accident that had occurred earlier. And there was a big misunderstanding of what I thought I was being asked to do. I never intended to disregard any of the instructions. I'm hopeful to put this to the side and focus on golf today. Of course, all of us involved in the tournament express our deepest sympathies to the family of the man who passed away in the earlier accident this morning. It truly puts everything into perspective." Yes, for those who don't know, and I actually got a statement from the PGA website here, PGA's Twitter account, PGA Championship Twitter account. They put out this morning, quote, "This morning we were devastated to learn that a worker with one of our vendors was tragically struck and killed by a shuttle bus outside Valhalla Golf Club. This is heartbreaking to all of us involved with the PGA Championship. We extend our sincere condolences to their family and loved ones, the PGA of America." So it was a vendor they were working with. That was a tragic accident that caused the traffic jam. And then Scotty Scheffler saying, "I was directed by police officers." So definitely a misunderstanding, right? He said, "This morning I was proceeding as directed by police officers." So what officers were so misunderstanding about the instructions from one officer? That to me is, I don't know how to interpret that other than like I'm sure an officer told them to do something and that's why he did it. We'll see. I'm sure there'll be more details about this. But that was the statement via Jeff Darlington from Scotty Scheffler. He's in good spirits, though. He's on the golf course and he's laughing and he's got a smile on his face and looks like he was cracking a couple of jokes. How about this one, though? He was picked up from jail and driven to the golf club by the co-owner of the golf club, Jimmy Kirchdorfer. The co-owner of the Valhalla Golf Club picked Scotty Scheffler up from jail and drove him to the course. He's like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go pick him up myself. Yeah, I want to pick him up myself. I want to make sure that Scotty understands that, hey, man, we want you to play, and hey, we support you here at the Valhalla Golf Club. We don't know what happened, but it had nothing. We weren't involved with that. Trust us, it wasn't our fault.
Do you know how there's good showers, there's like showers, then there's good showers, and there's great showers?
Yeah.
That tonight is going to be a great shower for Scotty Scheffler. When you just by yourself finally, and you go back to your room, and then you go back and you're like, wow, let's take a shower, just wash off today. Seriously. That is a shower. You're just like, oh, it's over.
Yeah, you're right. Whenever he gets a chance to take a breath and exhale to that, he sits down, because he has been ever since. I'm assuming we got this report at 6 a.m. our time, so he's probably been going, since like 5 something in the morning, 4 or 5 in the morning, and then had this happen, within a couple hours of him heading to the course, and then now he's going to have to play and tee off at the same time. He thought he was going to have a relaxing lead up to the PGA Championship. Nothing relaxing about it, but like I said, the storyline is epic. Like, you can't. I mean, this is one of the greatest stories for golf in recent and modern history, because he's the number one golfer in the world. It was just some jabroni, some guy, it'd be all right. It's a story, and we're moving on. Yeah. It's the number one golfer in the world, and he's been on a heater. Unlike anything we've seen since Tiger Woods. And now he's got the street cred, getting out of jail and about to jump on the course. Man, he should be jamming some Pac or something. I feel like, man, he just we'll see how he performs, but I think that golf is already a sport with a lot of pressure. The major adds even more pressure because it's a major championship, and now the added pressure of all of the the distractions now for him and the salacious details around the story with Scotty Scheffler. But also we do send our thoughts and condolences to somebody that actually lost their life here. That's where all this started. So very sad that there was a vendor that actually was hit by a shuttle, it says, and lost their life. So that is a really sad part of this story. But it seems like Scotty Scheffler will be teeing off. And like I said, I think it'll it'll be a must watch television moment for sports, not just golf. I think for sports. All right, we'll come back. We'll get into a little bit of we got Rod's rant. So I'll talk about the red zone research that I've done and why I think Sark has been probably emphasizing and obsessed about red zone offense in the offseason. I'll tell you about that disturbing trend and pattern that I noticed when it comes to red zone offense for Texas as well. We'll also get into the ACC a little bit. We played these clips earlier. The ACC is crumbling, ladies and gentlemen. The ACC is in danger of dissolving or being a very diminished version of itself. We'll talk about that on the other side as well. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm lifetime Longhorn. Rod Babers coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn, Rod Babers here. You got spring, right? Weather going on right now, so we're getting a lot of rain, but also that rain is going to be good. It's going to be good for your yard. It's going to be good for your lawn. It means that you can really start to put some work in and getting that beautiful, lush golf course conditioned grass that we all covet. And my friends over at Callahan General Store, they can help you out. They got all the supplies, all the resources you need. They have the soil, the fertilizer. They have the amendments. They have the pre-emergence. They have the weed feed there. Even Bermuda seed, the grass seed that you need to fill in those little brown patches that are damaged parts of your lawn from extreme weather, whether it be extreme heat or whether that be extreme cold. We get a lot of that here in Austin. My friends over at Callahan General Store, they can help you out no matter what you're trying to achieve, what your goals are for your lawn and for your yard. Maybe you're trying to have the yard of the month like me, or maybe you just want to make sure that your backyard and your front yard are looking as lush and as healthy as possible. My friends over at Callahan General Store, one-stop shop for all that you need, including the knowledge, including the expertise about how and what you need to do, how and what you need to do to make sure that your yard is in that golf course condition. And if you happen to have a green thumb and you're planting those seedling vegetables around your yard, right now it's a perfect time to head on over to Callahan General Store. Great variety of peppers and melons and great seedling vegetables to choose from. They have trees, fruit trees, and pecan trees as well there at Callahan General Store. Like I said, they got it all. It's a one-stop shop. You know where it is. 501 Bastrop Highway between downtown and the airport. Every day is a great day to make it a Callahan's day. Welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a 512 Friday edition of the Rodcast. That's when Patrick plays jams from local bands and artists, very talented human beings that you have a chance to catch live right here in the ATX. Who are we jamming right now, Patrick?
This is Souls Extolled, and they're playing tonight at the Far Out Lounge.
I like that. Souls Extolled?
Souls Extolled.
I like that. All right, there you go. Also, you can go to the Horn ATX and go check out the topic for the big fat poll of the day. My man Patrick has hooked you up there as well. Patrick, let the people know what the topic is for the big fat poll of the day.
Big fat poll of the day today. What are the ugliest jerseys in the NFL? We have pulled some up. I put some on to in the comments of the post on our X or Twitter, what do you want to call it, at the Horn ATX. We put them up. I have the 2024 Giants throwback, which is a new one that is just really terrible. The Broncos throwback from 2009, this 2007 Eagles throwback, and I threw in the Seahawks neon, but no one's going for it yet. No one has bid that ugly Seahawks neon. So I want to throw in one that wasn't just a throwback. This was an actual they thought was going to be innovative and cool, and it was not innovative and cool.
It was not. It was ugly. It was UGLY. No alibi. Ugly. I think all those things. I mean, they're all ugly, but you're talking about the ugliest.
Ugliest, yes.
Because they're all pretty damn ugly. Yeah, that one for the one you have for the Denver Broncos is a weird one. I almost forgot about that one. That one's really ugly too.
Yeah.
But that new Giants one, it could easily win. That new Giants one is
and
hideous.
then that Eagles one. You forget that the Eagles wore a jersey that ugly at some point. That was just. I know Cowboys fans will say all their jerseys are very ugly, but but that jersey is it. I don't know what they were thinking. I don't know what that's. Why they thought that was a good idea to bring back, or how many jerseys they were going to sell in that. But that I can't imagine that was the top seller. I imagine there's still boxes of those somewhere.
Yeah, and I imagine. I mean, still, like I said, I know they have to want to sell it because it's merchandising, and so they'll make them available to the fans. I wonder how many fans buy those ugly throwbacks like that.
I'm sure some do just to be like arbitrary and just to be different.
Have to, man.
But I don't know who's buying that. Unless you're buying it for your like great grandfather,
yeah, it's like a fan for like 60 years. But I understand like some throwbacks are really cool. Like those, I remember those Cowboys throwbacks were awesome. With the hell, I would love a Love You Blue throwback if they were the Houston franchise instead of the Tennessee Titans.
Yes.
That's probably the coolest damn throwback in the league. So there's some really cool throwbacks, but some of them are they need to just leave them in the past. Like, why are y'all bringing that up again? We don't bring up we try not to bring up sad tragic things, and some of those uniforms are just tragic. They're tragically ugly.
The funniest ones is when they try and figure out the helmet on stuff that was happening before helmets. And so like there was a Green Bay one where it was just a brown helmet because they said it was to symbolize the leather helmets, and you're like, yeah, this doesn't work.
No,
I think this looks the way you want it to.
Work, man. Yeah, that's not the style. That's not what they were going for back in the day. All right, there you go. That's the topic for the big fat poll today. So we appreciate my man Patrick there. All right. We're gonna cram in a Rangers report. We'll do that next segment because there's a lot of stuff we got to get to this segment. So we'll do that next segment. Cram in our Rangers report. Also, I want to cram in our Raj rant, and we may actually make Raj rant a part of the ACC conversation. We may have to get back to the red zone discussion because a lot of stuff that we want to cover there. I don't know if we have a ton of time to do it. So we'll try to cram in as much as we can. I promise you we'll try to get to as much as we can. But first, let's get educated. Let's get updated. Let's get informed with all the top stories of the day with my man Patrick Davis and the Horn headlines. And then we'll dive into this ACC topic and might just dive into Raj rant there as well. But let's get to it. The Horn headlines with my man Patrick Davis.
All right, Horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. Texas baseball needed some ninth inning heroics to pull off their 5-4 win over Kansas. The Longhorns gave up a go-ahead run in the top of the ninth, but were able to get the runs back in the bottom with a Jalen Flores walk-off double. Texas continues their series with Kansas tonight. And Texas softball begins their quest for a national title as the 1 seed in the Women's College World Series this afternoon against Siena. Other teams in the Austin Regional include Northwestern and St. Francis. In the NBA, the Timberwolves forced a Game 7 with a resounding 115-70 win over the Nuggets. Anthony Edwards has 27 points, and Jaden McDaniels added 21 more. But the real story was a lockdown defense, and the T-Wolves had shown in Game 1 and 2 was back. Game 7 will be played on Sunday. Tonight, the Knicks and Pacers head back to Indy for Game 6 in a series where the home team has won every game. And in Major League Baseball, the Astros get the sweep over the A's after an 8-1 victory yesterday, getting them their 7th win in 8 days as they try to right the ship as they head into a weekend series with the Brewers. And the Rangers will face the Angels at Globe Life Field this weekend, with Andrew Haney getting the start and looking for his first win of the season. And that is your Horn headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn headlines. We'll get back to the Scotty Scheffler story as well. He is teeing up, or has already teed off at the PGA Championship after being processed and released from jail, and charged with 4 different charges, which the most serious of those being, I think it's 2nd-degree assault on a police officer. So we'll get back to that story. That's been the biggest topic of conversation in sports today. A story broke about 6 this morning, and really has maintained its status because we get updates all throughout the day about what Scotty Scheffler was going to do, and turns out he's going to play. So right now he is competing in the PGA Championship. So we'll get back to that, give you some updates on it. But this story I wanted to hit because I think it's huge, but I just haven't heard a lot of people talking about it. Florida State and Clemson are already on the path to exiting the ACC. They have filed a lawsuit in an effort to leave the league. They believe is the revenue gap between their current revenue distribution and the ACC and what the SEC and the Big Ten are making. You're talking about $20 to $40 million of difference disparity every year potentially when the new revenue deal kicks in, new television contracts, and the expansion of the Big Ten and the SEC is final, which is coming up this year. When that happens, they're going to be $20 to $30 to $40 million, depending on the college football playoff distribution model. They're going to be 20 to 30, 40 million ahead of schools like Florida State and schools in the ACC and the Big 12. And over a few years, I mean, you're talking about a Grand Canyon sized gap between the have and the have nots. And now, in addition to worrying about Florida State and Clemson, and by the way, Florida State and Clemson, they're adamant. I mean, they are pretty adamant in their stance, even though the ACC has agreed on an unequal revenue sharing model. They just agreed on that to try to appease and try to keep Florida State and Clemson, to try to keep them happy and to give them an opportunity to make more money, and they will, but it still won't close the gap that the Big Ten and the SEC are making. So they're still ultimately, they're going to want out, no matter what the ACC does, because there's really nothing they can do to up the revenue to anything close to what they get if they could go to the SEC or the Big Ten. Even though we haven't heard anything about that, we do know Florida State and Clemson, they want out, they want to leave. But now North Carolina is probably going to jump in that group as well. David Bolig, who is a trustee on the board for North Carolina, he says that he is advocating for North Carolina to go to a higher revenue sharing conference. He said, quote, "I'm advocating for that. That's what we need to do. We need to do everything we can to get there. Or the alternative is the ACC is going to have to reconstruct itself. I think all options are on the table." So if you get all of these power players that want out of the ACC, Clemson, Florida State, North Carolina, you're going to get a severely diminished version of the ACC. But we don't know just yet if the Big Ten and the SEC are going to be able to go back to the television broadcast networks to renegotiate a new deal if they indeed get in a Florida State or get in, Clemson or North Carolina. They definitely want them because those options are sexier brands than some of the brands that are currently in the Big Ten or in the SEC. And I heard this in this story. This story dropped yesterday, I believe. And it reminds me of a quote I heard from Jamie Pollard. Can we pull this audio up here, please, Patrick? Jamie Pollard is the athletic director of Iowa State. And he recently said something that caught my eye, and I was like, man, this is something. Now some of these decision makers in college sports are saying the quiet part out loud. And this is Jamie Pollard saying the quiet part out loud, the athletic director for Iowa State. Listen to what he says about what could happen in the Big Ten and the SEC when they want to bring in schools potentially like a Clemson or Florida State, but they may not have room now. How do they make room?
You just have to look at the evolution. It isn't the SEC and Big Ten. It's those that have all the gold make all the rules, right? So if I was a member of the Big Ten or the SEC, I'd start looking over my shoulder and wondering if when's the day going to come when the top of the SEC is not going to want the bottom of the SEC. I mean, go back and look at times when the AFL and the NFL merged, they only needed one commissioner. And when the ABA and the NBA merged, they only needed one commissioner. There's going to come a day they don't need two $6 million a year commissioners, and they're going to eat their own. And if we think that's not going to happen, you're a fool, because we didn't think the Pac-12 would get eaten, and it did. And, the CFP is just another example of our industry running amok, and they're trying to, swallow the ACC and the Big 12. And I wish them all the best, because they're going to eat their own.
So you think the Big Ten and SEC do not exist separately at some point? Is that what you're saying? I guess in terms of how you phrase it with the commissioners.
I'm just saying, from an evolution standpoint, if you'd asked me 2 years ago, is the Pac-12 going to be existent in 2025? I think all of us would have said yes. So you don't have to look back very far to see what's happened, and you can see what's happening. And so it's reasonable to project into the future and say, why wouldn't you think that will just continue? That those with the gold will make the rules.
One of the quotes from this article, one administrator said, now look, he said the SEC and the Big Ten have cut us open and they're just watching us bleed out, is what one administrator from the ACC said. And he may be right about that. I think it's just because the SEC and the Big Ten, they're only self-interested, only care about what's going on with their two conferences. And I think what some of these other conferences like the Big 12 and the Pac-12, not Pac-12, but the ACC now, what they want is for the Big 10 and the SEC to look out for the power conferences. And the Big 10, I think now the SEC are done with that. After the alliance, we learned that no, these conferences, they're no longer working in alliance. They're doing what's best for them. Because remember, Sankey felt slighted because of the alliance. Because remember, they were voting against everything that the SEC wanted. So they didn't want to vote for anything to give the SEC too much power. That's when Sankey decided, okay, y'all going to be like that then. All right, I'm only looking out for the SEC then. If y'all want to be like that, I'll look out for my own self-interest in the SEC. And then we know the Big Ten backstabbed the whole alliance, including the Pac-12 Kliavkoff, because they went and poached the teams from the the Pac-12 at the time when Kliavkoff thought they were in an alliance. They were just poaching USC and poaching Washington and poaching teams to expand the overall profile of the Big Ten. And we also know that when the former Big 12 commissioner before your mark, when he was in college football playoff meetings, because he was on the college football playoff committee with Sankey, the SEC commissioner, that Sankey was getting close to him just to find out more details about Texas and Oklahoma and their status in the Big 12, because he was poaching both at the same time. He was on the college football playoff committee with the Big 12 commissioner, and behind his back, he was poaching two of your two most important members, Texas and Oklahoma.
Yeah.
It's Game of Thrones backstabbing going on. These conference commissioners know they can't trust each other, and they're not necessarily taking care of the greater good anymore. They're just taking care of themselves. That's it.
No, and I mean, it's what coaches have done for years when coaches will complain and moan about the transfer portal, and then they'll go and talk to a high school coach and tell them they'll take this kid in the portal. They all do that. And it's somewhat ironic that Florida State and Clemson now want to get into the transfer portal and transfer to a different conference.
That's exactly what
and I'm
want.
sure they don't see the irony in that, but I'm sure as much as they complain and Dabo Swinney hates the transfer portal, he wants to transfer because he wants a better opportunity for him and his players, which surprisingly, it's the same thing. I don't know.
Same thing.
I don't know.
It is the same.
But yeah, it's frustrating to watch all of this go down right now and watch a bunch of people who made the bed they're laying in and then look outside and go, why aren't you fixing it? You're like, well, you made this though. You are the ones who did this. You are the people. And now you're mad because you weren't the best at it. ACC made their bad deal where they said we're getting ahead of the market, and they basically projected that the TV deals were going to go down because of streaming. They thought the TV deals would go down, so they locked in a very long-term deal that they thought was in their best interest because they thought in 10 years, everyone's going to be begging to come to the ACC. And what they didn't realize was they did that way, way too soon, and they got locked into some really bad deals, and they went out because they signed a bad deal. It's just funny because they keep looking around like everyone wants to bail them out, and most people just go, "You did this, though. We don't really care that you did this." And I know that you want you were happy when you were the haves, and now you're saying, "Well, we can't have the haves and have-nots." But if this was flipped the other way, you would 100% put your foot on the throat of college football to make the ACC the best. That's why this can't work. That's why there is no great solution to it, is because every single person in it would lie, cheat, and steal to win. And we know they would.
Yeah, they did it to each other.
And we've seen it. And so we've seen that over and over again. And so you go, none of you can be trusted, and you're all trying to get the best thing.
And to the point, you can't be mad at the players for also doing the same thing.
No,
no. I'm self-interested. I got to worry about me and getting as much as I can when I can, because that's the example set before them. Jimbo Fisher has some interesting comments, kind of about the same thing. We're talking about the separation of the have and the have-nots. And I actually agree with Jimbo on a lot of these comments, and I rarely do agree with Jimbo. But here's Jimbo Fisher. He was on SiriusXM, and he was asked about, the separation between the have and the have-nots in college football, and talks a little bit about the ACC, his former time there as the Florida State head coach. Here's what Jimbo Fisher had to say.
Here's what's happening. All your mid-majors and a lot of your even not mid-majors and some of these other, and I'm going to say ACC, Big 12, Old Pac-12, some of those leagues, they're becoming glorified junior colleges. And some of those teams used to battle for playoffs and have great teams because, all right, they took that 3-star guy or that 4-star guy you missed, and they developed him into a heck of a player, and he became a great player at their school. How about Patrick Mahomes at Texas Tech? Would he have ever stayed at Texas Tech? Somebody would have came and got him. You know what I'm saying? And what's happening, and then your halves are out there saying, okay, I need a corner, I need a tackle, and I need a running back. They have one, and they're going to these 4-year schools and just selecting, and those guys are really becoming glorified junior colleges, and it's a shame. And I mean great college football programs that have won big in the past and had tremendously great players, but that is what's changed. And I think if we don't even it out, I don't know what the answer is, but we got to cut to some parity somehow, some way. But it's pushing to exactly what you said. I don't know if it's 40 teams, 45, 50, 30. I don't think it's going to be as many as you think. That's the sad part. Because how many's in the Big Ten now? How many schools in the SEC is going to be what, 16? We were 14, going to be 16. Yeah. All right, how many's in the Big Ten?
I think it's 14 or 16. I think.
No, you got 18, don't you?
18. Wow.
Yeah.
18.
And so you're 32 to 34 teams, somewhere in that realm right now. And so and that's probably why I would, it'd be interesting being in Amelia Island right now with Florida State, Clemson, and North Carolina trying to get out. Those meetings over there are going real interesting right now. And I know why. Yeah. They want to be a have.
Right.
And listen, to go some history, EJ, when you were there, sometimes when I came back from those meetings, I was in a bad mood. I got into it with the commissioner over there trying to tell him this was coming, and they wouldn't listen to me.
Yeah.
We got into a couple of knockdown dragouts, and I was letting them know this is coming, and we weren't, in my opinion, weren't doing some of the things we need to do in that league to allow us, because at that time we were as good as anybody in the country. During our 8 years there, we were in the top 2 or 3 winning percentages in the country and winning and ready to win national championships. We won one and played for them. But I knew eventually it was snowballing because of what we were doing from a conference alignment. And it's even getting that stretch is getting greater as we sit here.
There you go. And he's right about that, about the growing gap between those have and those have-nots there. So there's Jimbo Fisher talking about it.
I can throw in the fact that he has been a living example of proving that you can compete against the haves, because A&M had, and he did not compete at a high level. So you can compete against. He proved it by being a bad coach.
Well, and Texas has proven it over the last few years. I mean, Texas has been a have in this conference, and yet they've been getting beat by Kansas
but I
State and some
like
other
making
teams,
fun of the Aggies more.
No, but I
you're
agree,
right.
I agree with your point. But you're right. Just because you're a have, it don't necessarily mean that you're going to manage it well and you're going to use those resources. You're right about that. That does not guarantee that you're going to be a powerhouse just because of that. And also heard Dave Clawson, a Wake Forest coach. He said he's advocating that ACC teams stop scheduling road games at Group of 5 schools. He said it's just not worth it anymore. So like I said, these are coaches saying the quiet part out loud with stuff like this. I just think there's the change coming in college sports is just about to give you they say you have two major power conferences, honestly. I think the ACC and the Big 12 they will become relegated to being. I don't think they're going to have their power status anymore. Because if you're talking about real power conferences, it's just going to be the Big 10 and the SEC on a whole different stratosphere than the Big 12 and the ACC. So basically, there will be an upper class, the middle class, and then there will be kind of the lower class of college sports, and that'll be your group of five. Because they're not competing on the same levels, and that's why I agree with what Jimbo Fisher said there, and I rarely agree with Jimbo. Okay, let's push our Rangers report to next segment. We're going to push also Rod's rant to next segment. We'll do both of those coming up next segment, and then we'll give you a quick Rangers report, and then I'll dive into the red zone offense. I won't have time to hit everything, so we'll make it a to be continued, but I'll give you as much info as I can about the red zone offense, the mystery that was Texas red zone offense in 2023. All of that and more when we return right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis here. Austin is a great city. We know this because people keep moving to Austin, making the traffic even worse, but also making it one of the fastest growing cities in the country. And a lot of the iconic landmarks that we love in this city were actually created and built by the skilled craftsmanship of Ironworkers Local Union 482, like the Pennybacker Bridge and DKR Stadium. And the folks over at Ironworkers Local 482 don't go to the office, they build it. So if you're looking for an exciting employment opportunity or you want a refreshing career change, you can become a member of Ironworkers Local 482 right now. Is a perfect time to do it. They're hiring over 3,000 people for a huge project right here in Central Texas. They're offering competitive wages, competitive benefits, a pension plan. They even offer training for unskilled labor through an apprenticeship program. So right now is the perfect time for you to become a member of Ironworkers Local 482, and you can take pride in the type of teamwork and craftsmanship that helps shape the future of our great city. So go online and apply today at ironworkers482.org. That's ironworkers482.org. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get to our Rangers report. Rangers dealing with a lot of injuries, and one of the most important injuries, or at least one of the most notable, is Max Scherzer. A lot of people thought that he would be on the track to return this month. That may not be the case. He's got apparently his back, which put him on the injured list to start, is now okay. But he said on Wednesday the specialists have determined through process of elimination that the lingering pain in his tricep now is being caused by nerve damage. I don't know if that's because of the back injury or whatever. Nerve damage sucks though. So shooting pains, it hurts like hell. He says knowing the source might knowing the source might be of comfort to Scherzer because he actually didn't know what was the issue. He thought he still might be his back. He thought he might have re-injured himself, but so the back is fine. But now they have a nerve damage issue. On Monday, he underwent MRIs on his neck and triceps. Previous imaging had shown no damage on his elbow. He has consulted with Dallas-based vascular specialist Dr. Gregory Pearl, who is known for treating thoracic syndrome. So apparently that I don't know. It's lingering issues, but at least it's not one thing keeping him out. It's something else now. It's nerve damage, so that's probably going to change his timeline. Rookie outfielder Wyatt, and by the way, the issues for the Rangers, even though they've had a ton of injuries hit their starting pitching, they've actually their on-field issues have been a result of their bullpen struggling. How about this stat? It's a sad one if you're a Rangers fan. The Rangers bullpen ERA in May, 9.16. That's their bullpen ERA in May. I know we got ways to go, but that is troubling considering all the injuries that you've had, which are starting pitching for the Rangers. Rangers will be in action tonight versus starting up their series versus the Angels. Also, speaking of injuries, Wyatt Langford, rookie outfielder Wyatt Langford, he's going to spend the next 10 to 14 days at the Rangers complex in Arizona to complete his rehab assignment from a strained right hamstring. He was packing his bags Wednesday night after the Rangers' 4 victory over the Guardians. He has been doing more baseball activities now starting up this week, including hitting and running at like a 90% max level effort. He said he should start running bases next week at the Surprise Recreation Campus, and then playing at Arizona Complex League game, or at least a couple of those games as a designated hitter before playing the outfield. And those games in the Arizona Complex League might be his like rehab assignment. And he says, I don't think it should be too long before he's back with the Rangers in full force. So Rangers, of course, were off yesterday, but they're going to start their 3-game series tonight up against the Angels, and it starts up tonight. So there you go. There's some Rangers news for the Rangers fans out there, and that's our Rangers report brought to you by Texas Truck and Trailer. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get to Rod's round of the day. This will probably be a to be continued because I don't know if we have enough time to get into all of the kind of the deep dive rabbit hole tidbits that I want to discuss here when talking about Texas red zone offense last year. So I'll just give you kind of the trends that I discovered, and we won't dive into the solutions that I want to suggest and how I'll try to predict what Sark is going to create, or at least what Sark is going to bring to the table, what new concepts, what new cheat codes he may decide to utilize in 2024 that he didn't use in 2023. So we'll talk about that maybe next week. So we can do a to be continued on here. We don't have to cram it all into one session and one segment. But this is the troubling trend that I found about red zone offense for Texas. So I went looking at the touchdown percentage in the red zone for Texas the last 3 years since Sark has been at the University of Texas. And last year, we know 120th in touchdown percentage in the red zone. They were one of the worst teams in the country in red zone offense. They were 90th in red zone scoring, but they were 120th in touchdown percentage in the red zone at 50.8. In 2022, they were better. They were 65th in the country at touchdown percentage in the red zone at 62%. That's better. And overall scoring in the red zone, they were 19th in 2022. So you were top 20. And you were basically average in touchdown percentage in the red zone, but you were a top 20 overall red zone offense. But in 2021, Texas red zone touchdown percentage was 74%. That was third best in the country. They were fourth in overall red zone offense in 2021. I thought to myself, man, that is crazy. Texas team overall has gotten more talented. They've gotten better. That offense last year had 3 first-round wide receivers, NFL types, three NFL wide receivers, 1 first round, 1 second round, 1 a late round draft pick. You had a tight end who's an NFL draft pick. You had a running back who was a first running back taken overall. You had the biggest offensive line in the conference at the time, and a quarterback who likely will be a first round pick coming up next season. And there was no real excuse for Texas to be as bad as they were in the red zone, but that's the reality. They struggled scoring touchdowns in the red zone, even with all that talent. And Sark was staying up late nights and deep in his bag trying to figure out exactly why they were so inconsistent and why they were so ineffective in the red zone. And he never really figured it out. For all Sark's brilliance, and he is a brilliant offensive mind, he never figured it out. Their best offensive game in the red zone had to be Oklahoma State. And even Mike Gundy said after the game, Texas looks better in person than they do on film. And I was like, they look really good on film. I think the reason he said that is because they were really good in the red zone. And all the film you watch all year long, no matter how good of a game Texas played, they were bad in the red zone all the time. And it's always something different. Like sometimes it was a push or lack thereof of the offensive line. I was talking to Coach Bob Shipley about this on Texas football, and he thinks the offensive line bears a lot of the burden and responsibility for Texas inefficiency in the red zone. I think that's part of it. Quinn Ewers, I think, was a big part of it too. We talk about him getting through his progressions a little bit quicker, getting deeper into his progressions. Well, everything happens faster in the red zone. So not only do you have to get deeper into your progressions, you got to get to them faster. And that's something that Quinn didn't naturally do well last season. I think it's something he'll improve on, but that's something that you have to accelerate in the red zone. It could be, sometimes it was turnovers, and sometimes it was, the timing and chemistry that you had with, the wide receivers or the receivers and the quarterback. And I think sometimes it was Sark, right? Sark even admitted sometimes he, as a play caller, was off and was a little inconsistent and should have had a different, sequence of plays. He's talked about that. And so I think the reason that Texas has gotten even as a team, they've gotten better. The roster's gotten deeper and more talented. So even though the talent level has increased, your red zone offense has gotten worse. I think at one point, Sark was almost going to a default setting with him as a play caller, and almost a default setting in terms of a red zone philosophy and mentality when he had Bijan and Rojo. I think they were so talented in breaking tackles and avoiding negative plays. You guys know my motto for that 2023 season was, 2022 season, we'll put some Bijan on it, right? No matter what the situation, put some Bijan on it. Bad weather, third and long, red zone, goal line, just put some Bijan on it, and the chances are it's going to turn out just fine. And I think Sark did that actually a lot. I think he went to Bijan and went to Rojo a ton in the red zone in the early years when he was here at Texas. And in 2023, losing Bijan and Rojo, I think your offensive productivity and efficiency and effectiveness in the red zone plummeted, went off a cliff. Now, that's not the only reason. Like we said, it's multifactorial. We just listed some of the factors: the O-line, Quinn Ewers, timing, Sark's, creativity or lack thereof, right? Stubbornness in the red zone. It's a lot of things. But I think one of the things, obviously, pointing out this trend is that I think he had a reliance, and you could argue maybe an over-reliance. Like I saw a default setting that, hey, let's just give it to Bijan and Rojo in the red zone. We don't even worry about creativity. We don't have to worry about establishing an identity in the red zone. We don't have to worry about coming up with the most effective concepts to maximize our advantages in the red zone. No, we'll just give it to Bijan and Rojo. And I always said in the red zone, essentially the red zone, because it makes you easy to defend. I, as a defensive back, I love the red zone, love defending in the red zone because I don't have to defend 50, 60 yards behind me. I can undercut all the routes. I can be late on some of the deeper routes because it's the red zone, and I'll have a shorter field to cover, right? And less space to defend. So it's easier for a defense. And the more an offense is restricted, especially an offense like Sark, right? Sark's offense is, it's an offense built on space and creating space, whether it be vertically or horizontally. And when you restrict that space, it just makes the offenses easier to defend, especially one built on space and creating it as much as Sark's offense is. So I think that's also a big part of it. So it's not one thing. If it was just one issue affecting Texas red zone offense, something systemic, Sark would have figured it out. He's smarter than that. He's a brilliant offensive mind. The problem is it wasn't just one thing. One game it was the O-line, another game it was Quinn, another game it was the wide receiver chemistry, another game it was turnovers, and another game it was missed blocks and missed assignments. It was always something different. And so I think he just thinks overall consistency will be better. But why would we assume the consistency will be better when you got so many new pieces on offense? If the consistency and the timing wasn't good last year with A.D. Mitchell and X-Man and J.T. Sanders and Jonathan Brooks, guys who had been here in the system and worked with Quinn for years, why would it be better with a guy who just brought in 1 year? So assuming that will improve is probably foolhardy. That's probably something that you really can't count on. So when I come up with ideas to improve the red zone, that's not something that I'm really getting into. But I got a couple of ideas that I think are going to translate for Sark, and it makes sense for Sark more than anything about the red zone. But I'll give Sark credit for this because I know we're up against. We won't get into the solutions today because we just don't have the time. We'll get into that next week, so we'll make it a two-parter, to be continued. If you look at it, Texas had 18 red zone field goals. They were at the 5th most red zone field goals in the country, and I'll give Sark credit for that. And the reason I give him credit for it is because early on, Sark did not want to take those points in the red zone. He wanted to go for it on 4th down, and he was early on going for it on 4th down because I think he was looking at the same thing that I was looking at, that you were looking at, that, okay, I got 3 NFL wide receivers. I got an NFL tight end. I got the biggest offensive line in the conference. I got an NFL quarterback who's probably going to get drafted in the 1st round. I got a running back who's the best running back in the country right now. Who the hell's going to stop us when we get in the red zone? That's when we become lethal. And they didn't. It didn't work out that way. And I think Sark was dumbfounded at times, like stupefied, like what the hell is going on? Like, why isn't my talent, overwhelming the opponent in the red zone? And I just think it was a lot of different factors that played a part in that. And there's no doubt he obsessed about it. I believe, looking at that trend, he obsessed about it this offseason. And so I'm trying to figure out what's going to be the product of that obsession of how they get better in the red zone. And I think I got some ideas about it, but I'll give him credit because he was not stubborn to the point where it lost games for his team. He was stubborn. He wanted those touchdowns instead of those field goals. But at one point in the season, he decided, you know what? We're bad in the red zone. We're just bad. No matter how talented we are, no matter how brilliant I am, I can't deny the product on the field. The honest guy don't lie, and we're bad. We're getting stopped on the goal line by BYU's and Oklahoma's. We're just not good in the red zone. And so I need to take these points. I'm going to take these points, and we'll have more opportunities in the red zone. But when I have an opportunity to get points on the board with this team, I'm going to take them points. And I think it ended up winning Texas some games down the stretch because you had some tight games where teams were able to come back and make it close. But Texas played with a lead and played with a buffer because Sark took those points. And I think that was him evolving as a coach because Sark didn't want to do that. And I think when Sark has his ideal team, he's not going to be kicking field goals in the red zone like that. He's going to be trying to get touchdowns in the red zone because he's going to believe that his offense is just that prolific. All right, so we'll discuss the solutions. I got some solutions to Texas red zone woes that I'll share with you guys next week. We'll dive into it. All right, let's get to the break. On the other side, we'll play Who Said That with my man Patrick Davis. Coming right back on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn.
Hey, I want to tell you guys about our friends at Texan Windows. They are your new and replacement window experts here in Central Texas. You can discover affordable windows and sliding glass doors. If your energy bills are too high, your windows are getting foggy, hard to open, anything of the sorts, you're starting to notice that the heat is cranking up and the heat is too much in your house, AC's running all the time, why don't you go check out our friend at Texan Windows? They got something where all their windows are argon-filled, double-pane, low-E glass. And I don't know what that means, but I know it means it keeps your house cooler in the summer, and I'm a fan of that. If you want to go check out what that is, you want to go talk to the experts over at Texan Windows about what they got going on, we're actually going to be out there tomorrow morning. Rod, tell them about it.
Oh, yes. Can't wait. We're really excited about this. Texan Windows inviting you and your family and friends out to their grand reopening and ribbon cutting ceremony with the Buda Chamber of Commerce. It's going to be tomorrow at 10 a.m. You can bring your friends and family, like I said. Join Patrick and myself live at Texan Windows for their grand reopening this Saturday, coming up tomorrow at 10 a.m. to noon. You can swing by. There will be refreshments and snacks. There will be games for the entire family. There's going to be music out there. Yes, it's a party, folks. So come on out and party with us. Texan Windows inviting you and your entire family and friends out to that grand reopening and ribbon cutting ceremony with the Buda Chamber of Commerce. That's tomorrow, 10 a.m. to noon. You can find out more details at hornfm.com on the events page.
Yes, and if you want to find out more about our friends at Texan Windows, you can get started at texanwindows.com or call 855-55-TEXAN, and you get a hassle-free estimate by email or by phone, whatever's easier for you. That's Texan Windows, texanwindows.com. Texan Windows, your Central Texas window experts.
All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. It's a 512 Friday. That's when my co-host, the Idealionaire, as we call him, comes up with all the musically themed days of the week. But on 512 Friday, he plays jams from local bands and artists, very talented human beings that you have a chance to catch live right here in the ATX. Who we're jamming right now, Patrick?
This is the Selfless Lovers, and they're playing tomorrow night, Saturday, at the Continental Club.
That is a great name. They ain't gonna lie. I don't know why that name appeals to me. The Selfless Lovers, because I think of myself as a selfless lover.
I know, but it feels like in 2024, if you call yourself a selfless lover, you're the opposite. It feels like It feels like one of those things now where when you're like, oh, I would never say, it's like, you just did. Like,
I actually am a selfless lover, though. I'm just saying. But that's why it
look,
gets to me.
I not even gonna.
I would never say it until you just said
Yeah.
that's the band name. The only reason I don't walk around and be like, hey guys, I'm a pretty selfless lover. Like, no, I don't, I don't brag about that or anything. But like I said, that's why the name appeals to me. It's like walking around saying how funny you are. You know, the people who brag about how funny they are, they're not funny. Like, no, I'm pretty funny. It's like, well, you're not funny. You shouldn't say you're funny. People tell you you're funny.
Exactly.
You
don't get to pick that.
People, yeah, exactly.
And
Like,
that's
no,
also
you say you're
the life lesson I learned at a young age when one of my friends who was not very smart told me he thought he was smart, and I was like, oh no, we all think we're smart.
Yeah,
Oh no,
yeah, exactly.
never say you're smart ever again.
Great point. And everybody's like, no, I'm pretty smart. It's like, oh, you might not be that smart then.
Oh,
Because
you're an
smart
idiot.
people don't have to say that. Yes. There you go. Okay, here, real quick, there is an update from the Scotty Scheffler story. We have the police's version of things. I'll just read this really quickly. Detective Gillis, I guess that's the cop in question, was directing traffic into Gate 1 of the Valhalla Golf Course due to road being closed in both directions. This is from a police report from an earlier fatal collision. Listed subject was driving eastbound to gain access to the course. Subject pulled into the westbound lanes where outbound traffic was flowing, and to avoid backed up traffic, Detective Gillis was in the middle of the westbound lanes in full LMPD gear and uniform and a high visibility yellow reflective rain jacket. Detective Gillis stopped subject and attempted to give instructions. Subject refused to comply and accelerated forward, dragging Detective Gillis to the ground. Detective Gillis suffered pain, swelling, and abrasions to his uniform pants, valued at approximately $80, were damaged beyond repair. So
we'll have to see the video. We got to see the video.
Yeah.
These are
He had to
two
be true-
very
yeah.
different reports. So what they said and what the police saying. So we'll just have to see what the video is, and video don't lie.
Yeah, it says he had abrasions to his left wrist and knee. He was transported to the hospital for further medical treatment by medical emergency personnel. And his pants were damaged beyond repair. So there you go. All right. Who said that? That's when Patrick plays a little bit of audio, and based on the context clues are based on the familiarity of the voice. You're supposed to be able to recall and identify who said that.
Working with Greg Ellis, what does that dynamic look like for you guys?
It's good. I was fortunate the last 2 years in Washington to work with Ryan Kerrigan, another great defensive end in the league. But yeah, no, I love working with ex-players. I love being an ex-player. So it's gonna be good. The yin and the yang. He's more mild, and I'm a little bit more of a loose cannon, they say. So it works. Just like Ryan. Ryan didn't say much. He was the calming soul, where I was the raging lunatic.
As a quote-unquote loose cannon, have you had a moment yet with a player? And I'm not going to ask specifics, but
Yes,
where you can kind of see it in their
every day, every 5 minutes, if not more. And they've been warned. And everything.
It sounds like a defensive line coach. That is the Cowboys defensive line coach, Jeff. I'm gonna make sure I get his name right here because I got a pronunciation. Jeff Scanina.
That sounds right. That sounds right. I remember that from when he was playing. That sounds about right.
It's not like it's spelled. I know that. It's not like it's spelled at all. It's spelled with a Z and a G at the beginning, but it's Scanina, I believe it is. He's the new defensive line coach for the Dallas Cowboys. There you go. I like. He's got the personality of a defensive line coach. Jeff
What bothers you the most? Everything.
That's a D-line coach. Everything. What do you mean? I'm always aggravated. All right, there you go, Patrick. Great job this week. And don't forget, Patrick and myself will be out at Texan Windows tomorrow from 10 a.m. to noon. Come on out there. We'll be having a show. We'll be having a damn good time. Remember, the revolution will not be televised. We'll be talking about it right here on the Rodcast. We love you. We mean that. Take care of yourselves, but more importantly, take care of each other. Have a great weekend. And until next week, in fact, until tomorrow, peace and hook 'em.